Hi everyone, my name's Charlie and I've helped over 150 people in the UK win their PIP or ADP claims. I also receive PIP myself. For those of you that don't know, those of us in England and Wales, it's called PIP, Personal Independence Payment. Those of you in Scotland, it's called ADP, Adult Disability Payment. This is going to be the best step-by-step guide I have ever done for a PIP claim. And it doesn't matter where you are in the process, it is worth you watching this guide. I'm going to be really structured about how I do this. So for you to get the most out of this guide, have a pen, paper. If you can, print the points off. So in the description, there's a link to the website. These are the government points, not mine. There'll be a link there so you can print them off. If you don't have a printer, just get a pen and paper. And as we go through things like preparing food, you'll be able to write it down, okay? You are not going to make many notes. I'm going to help you focus on what is unique to you. That is how you win PIP. It's about current daily life. You need to be able to communicate on average what your current daily life is like. And I'm going to show you examples of that as we go through this. And throughout the process, I'm going to keep asking you questions to get you thinking about your life. That is how you win. Obviously, I'm going to help you understand the process and how to word it so that they, the DWP, get it. We need them to get it, okay? You've got to be honest throughout. Never just tell them about your worst days, because that's being fraudulent and it will cause you issues in the future. If you just tell them about your worst days, that means that when you go out, it looks like you are a liar. So stick with me, because I promise I know what I'm doing. This is really important. This is how you work out, are you entitled to this? I say PIP and ADP scars us. It can, done right, change our lives, but the process is scarring. Scar. Are you safe? Are you consistent and reliable? Every time we go through a section of PIP and ADP, I want you to write down SCAR. Am I safe? Write that at the top of your piece of paper. Okay, so I've written mine there. Before we get into the process, I want to remind you what PIP and ADP is. It's split into two sections: daily living, which has 10 sections, and mobility, which has 2 sections. We're going to go through them bit by bit, and we're going to check out the points. So these are the points for preparing food. When you go through this, you have to paint a picture of your life. This is unique to you. So if, for example, you sit down to cook, you use a microwave, so that's 2 points. You use a microwave, so that's 2 points. But you also need supervision because your ADHD is off the charts and you will wander off and leave something until you start a fire. 4 points. That's not 4, 5, 6, 7. That's not 8 points in total. They give the highest point that is relevant to you. But you can't just go for the 4 points. You have to paint the picture of what your life is like. And I will go through this in every section. We will talk about the points because everything comes back to these. You have to understand the point system. Otherwise, how can you communicate clearly? If you don't understand where you fit in this point system, how are they supposed to figure it out? It's very difficult. I'm so happy that you're watching. I thought in Scotland they treated people more fairly, and they could, but what I've discovered, a client sent me the ADP booklet, which is about 133 pages. In England and Wales, the booklet we get is about 44 pages. I'm saying about because sometimes they tweak the form slightly. The layout of the Scottish booklet, I think, is fantastic. It really does cut the crap and help the government identify where you are. It helps you be specific about your life. So this guide, we are going to use that booklet to help us stay on track and help you win at the start. I get so many clients that come to me when they're down the line, and then I have to try and unpick everything and figure out where they are. I want you to win at the beginning. If you follow the steps that I'm going to lay out for you, this is 100% possible. You are proving it. Check out the comments in the other videos. By the way, all the links to me is in the description. There's a link to my website. There's a link so you can book me because I do have a consultancy where I help people do PIP. What do they mean when they say preparing food? It is not preparing a spaghetti bolognese or a curry from scratch. It is a basic meal for one. When I was in tribunal, they said that it was boiling broccoli. That's what they meant, okay? It's very, very basic. And a lot of people get this wrong. I meet so many people that are down the process when they book me. And what they put is, I cannot prepare or cook food. To be honest with you, that's what I put when I first claimed for PIP. Because I'm not safe or consistent to cook meals. I drop things. It's absolutely dangerous. I do not do it. My mum prepares meals for me. Maybe 3 times a year I'll try and then have an issue. It's not about those occasions. It's about current daily life. However, in this section, if you put I cannot prepare or cook food and they can see from your medical records that you wouldn't starve, it looks bad on you. It goes against you, okay? You've got to be realistic, especially if you are a Muslim man, because you will get discriminated against. And I say that with love. I don't care who you are. Chronic illness doesn't discriminate, neither do I, unless you're a dickhead. If you are a male, particularly Muslim men, just being honest with you, and your wife does all the meals for you, you've got to be very, very careful in this section, okay? You need to be very clear. For those of us, the rest of us, we still need to be very, very careful. So when you're looking at this one, remember, cannot prepare and cook food is for people that have had a severe stroke, that are neurodivergent, that don't understand danger or cannot figure out how to do the step-by-step process of open the fridge, take the food out, get a knife. Like people that can't think through that process. Or for example, people with severe cerebral palsy, where say part of one side of their body doesn't work. That's the people that will get the 8 points, not people like me and you that can move our hands and can walk to the kitchen and sit down and understand the dangers. So with points, again, we're like going to paint a picture. So let's go back to ADP. I love the way they do photos in this. Right. So opening packaging. How many of you have got Raynaud's or issues with your fingertips where you can't peel the plastic of the microwaved lid, of the pre-prepared food? That's really important. Transferring food, carrying. Remember SCAR, the lion. Are you safe? Are you consistent and reliable? Can you do that? Forget about following a recipe. That's bullshit. That's too complicated. That is not what this is about. There will be times in this where I'm saying to you, ignore what they've said. And you can be like, but Charlie, it says it right here in black and white. They want to know that. I'm just being honest with you. I'm just saving your time. If I say, forget about it, trust me. I feel bad when I'm like, just trust me, forget about it. I'm going to be honest with you. And if it is absolutely pointless you doing something, I'm going to let you know and save you time. I want you to focus on the areas that will actually get you points. If you are entitled to it, if you are being honest and this is what your life is. So can you prepare and cook a meal whenever you want without your condition and symptoms getting worse and you're not absolutely wrecked afterwards? If yes, I'm so happy for you. Go to the next section. If no, that you can't always do it every day, or you need help, or you need someone to nag you, let's carry on. This question is aimed at people with mental health diagnosis. It also counts for those of us that are in so much pain we don't want to move because the pain's going to get worse, or our fatigue is so severe we literally can't get up. Think about, don't just use the words they use. So how would you describe it? My partner is always on my case. My partner's nagging me. My partner says, why don't you prepare a meal? Why don't you get up? Why don't you do a meal? And this prompting, reminding, nagging, encouraging, whatever words you want to use, it doesn't need to be face-to-face. It can be FaceTime. It can be WhatsApp. It can be anything. It's just, is it happening? And then, so this bit where they're like, tell us why, it's you're linking it to your condition. Okay. So, for example, my sister contacts me every day, at least 3 times, to encourage me to prepare a meal because I cannot get motivated to get off the sofa due to my depression, for example. Oh, I'm sorry, I got a cat. I'm used to the English version where we don't get it laid out like this. Do you see what I mean? And how good this is? Like, I obviously do this for a living, so I'm used to answering it in one bit. But the ADP form, look at how good it is. It's broken down. We don't get this, which is, again, why I'm showing it to you, the whole country of us, because we're supposed to be the United Kingdom. So this is brilliant. And again, if you're like, but Charlie, I'm in England and Wales, just lay it out in this manner. Yeah, just lay it out if you get prompted. Okay. This bit is brilliant. Do you need someone with you to keep you safe when you're preparing food? This is for those of you that are self-harming, that are not to be around knives, or if you do have severe ADHD and you can't remain focused. And for example, Eggbox, codename Eggbox, where you might start a fire or something like that. It can be harm to yourself, or if you're a danger to the property and those in the property. Okay, tell us why, and then how often. So remember SCAR. Are we safe, consistent, and reliable? They need to understand why. So why is because it links back to your condition, and how often, because they're trying to work out on average, how often do we need that support? Now, this is important. If you're thinking, yeah, but Charlie, half the week I can't even prepare a meal. I'll buy a sandwich, or I'll get a takeaway, or I'll just eat biscuits, something I can pick up. That counts. Okay. You're working out in everything we talk about with PIP, you're working out on average. So if you think about it, there are 7 days in a week. If, for example, 3 days a week, you absolutely can't, you just don't prepare meals. Your current life, you do not prepare meals those 3 days. So take those 3 days out. You've got 4 days left. How do you manage on those 4 days? Is someone nagging you to do it? Is that how you're getting the meals done? Really think about it. I recommend you keep a diary. I know it's energy and it's difficult for us and you need to be focused, but you have to know your life in order to win this. So far, the form has covered the prompting section, which if you get prompted is 2 points. Again, all of these link back to condition, and you need to make it personal to you, unique to you. So during this video, I'm going to do 2 sections. I'm going to do one for mental health, and I'm going to do one for a physical condition. So I'm going to use a black pen for mental health. I've circled prompting, nagged daily by mum. Okay, you need to write this down. Can you use a microwave? Everything about this is about current daily life. But again, if you're not preparing meals, you need to be realistic on, can you do this? So most of us are in a position where we could push a button. Okay. But again, think about Scar the lion. Are you safe to carry the food from wherever you get it from? Are you safe to then carry the food once it's heated up? Can you peel back the lid on the microwave, the pre-prepared food? Or, for example, if someone helps you, you need to clarify that as well. This is this section, the microwave section, okay? So you notice they're not doing this in order. It's like that on the assessment. They don't do anything in order, so it makes it a lot more difficult for us to focus. Now, so far, you need prompting, and you use a microwave 3 days a week. That's important. Make a note of that. So I'm going to use that in my example for mental health. Right. I love this. When I work with so many clients that you're not aware of what aids are available to us. If you go into the description of YouTube or on the website, there is a list of aids that I've tried and tested and that I recommend, all on Amazon. Okay. So you can just have a look at them and they could absolutely change your life. Remember, yes, this does scar us, but it's also life-changing. to win this funding can change your life, or not can, it will change your life. If you get given anything, for example, a perch chair, anything from an occupational therapist, you need to state that on your form. So, for example, let's say for the version that I'm doing for physical condition, I'm able to prepare meals, but I need to be sat on a chair, not a perch chair. An aid doesn't need to be, something from a disability shop. It can be anything you're using in your home to assist you so that you're able to be independent. Okay. What do you use to help you and why? So, for example, I have to sit on a seat because my fatigue is so bad I can't remain standing. My pain increases. If you're using, the jar opener or bottle opener stuff, my hand pain is so bad I have to use these aids or I can't open it myself. Yeah. Be blunt, keep it short. How often do you use this? So this is an interesting one. So if you're like, but Charlie, again, half the week I'm not able to prepare a meal because I'm not well enough. But if the half the time you do use the aid, that's every time you prepare a meal, you use the aid. So let me just explain that again. If 3 days a week you can't cook, 4 days a week you're able to use a microwave, but you have to sit. Every time you use a microwave, you have to sit. That means that every time you do a meal, you use an aid because you are sitting down. Does that make sense? This is what's amazing. I love this bit. Love it, love it, love it. Oh, hang on a minute. So I've put there that I need to use a seat when preparing a meal, which is 2 points. Okay. So already we're very clear in this section. Now, in these hypothetical situations, so I'm just using these as examples, both cases, they're not preparing meals. Someone else is preparing the meals for them. And that's what you put on the form. So again, all you've got to do is tell the truth. Level of notes, this is all you need. Don't write tons and tons and tons of writing. You've got to try and cut the crap. I love this bit. I love this bit. Only people that have experienced chronic illness will truly understand how important this is. After you've prepared and cooked food, does it change how you feel? Yes. Oh, yes. I am such a wreck. It's so exhausting. It's awful. It's awful. It makes everything worse. Everything much worse. And I don't want to be worse. It already sucks as it is, let alone making it worse. So yes. Now, you see this bit here where it says continued on a separate sheet of paper? No. I never, ever continue on a separate sheet of paper. And again, I've done over 150 of these now. This amount of space is all you need. You've got to cut the crap. I know I'm a chatter in this case, but when it comes to these forms, I am not a chatter. Blunt to the point. They're going to ask you questions on your assessment. I put way too much information in mine when I first did it, and I was actually looking at it the other day, and I was like, oh my God. Like, some of the stuff I was writing things down, and it's no points. It was a waste of time. They're going to ask you everything on your assessment. The assessment is key. Now, this is really important. I know I'll probably say that a lot, right? What I want you to do, because I want you to win at the beginning. At the beginning, I want you to set yourself up so that if it comes to it shouldn't have to get to mandatory reconsideration, which is where you don't agree with their outcome and you appeal it. It's called mandatory reconsideration. So on this document, big green. Okay, I have a video on evidence. I want you to submit additional evidence with your claim form. So I've done a massive E here. If you use aids, I want you to take photos of it and you're going to submit it as additional evidence. A photo of whatever it is, show it's your home so it doesn't look like a Google image. Do not worry about cleaning up, keep it real, okay? So I want you to take a photo. We're going to go through every section that's relevant. We're going to put an E for evidence, okay? When you go to complete your form, obviously ADP does have a better format. Those of you doing PIP in England and Wales, you're going to be faced by a blank piece of paper. So for both of you, I've done a checklist. The checklist is completely free. Links in the description. It will take you to the website where you can download it. I'm going to use the checklist I'm going to give you a starting point based on the examples we've discussed during this guide. I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so the start of the checklist is just a reminder of the really, really important things you need to remember. Now, because there's 12 different activities, this is the best checklist I could come up with that applies to all of them. Okay, let's remind ourselves of the examples we've used. We said for the mental health that they are able to use a microwave 3 days a week. They get prompted, nagged every day by their mum. So let's go to the checklist. How often do you do this on average? I am able to use a microwave on average 3 days a week is how you would start the form. Why are you only able to do it that often? Due to my depression, I am not able to get motivated to prepare a meal any more than that. What help do you have? My mum nags me every day to try and get me to prepare a meal. Check the points and refer to the specifics. Now, obviously, I'm using the points because that's where my notes are, and I hope you've done the same, but let's just triple check. Have we missed anything else? So with the mental health, they don't use an aid, they don't need supervision in this example, and they can prepare food. So we've covered everything in the points. Go back to the checklist. How long does it take you and how do you feel afterwards? Now, I've included that because it's in ADP, but I would say if you're doing PIP, if you're in England and Wales, I wouldn't put it on the assessment form. With all the people that I've helped, I've only ever had it asked by an assessor less than a handful of times, okay? And people only take in, I think it's 10% of written. Don't want to waste pen space. I want them to focus on the important things, okay? More importantly, in this section, could you include evidence? Right, so let's check. So for the mental health, there's no point in photographing a microwave. And we don't do statements from family because they are supposed to love us and would say whatever they can to help. So there is no evidence to include for the mental health. So regarding that example, the form is done. So let's do the physical condition. Let's go back to our checklist. How often do you do this on average? So in this example, we've said that they can prepare a meal. How often do you do this? I can prepare a basic meal myself. Why are you only able to do it that often? Isn't relevant for this one because we can. What help do you have? I have to sit when preparing a meal due to the pain from my arthritis. Check the points just to make sure we've included everything. So providing they can sit down, they can do a basic meal. They don't need prompting. So we've covered everything on the points. And again, I hope you've prepared your notes like this. How long does it take you and how do you feel afterwards? We're not going to include that. In this section, could we include evidence? Right, let's check. Yes, we give it a whopping big green E for evidence. This is the most important bit. Please refer to the additional evidence document included with this form. You can end it there, or you could say, showing a photograph of the aid I use when preparing food. Done. That's it. Taking nutrition means eating. That is what it means. So many people end up diverting back to preparing food on this one. It is purely about eating. Cutting the food into pieces, being able to put it in your mouth to chew and eat it without choking if you need anyone feeds you or you've got feeding tubes. Purely about eating. Okay. Are you able to eat yourself? Yes or no? Okay. Or do you have a feeding tube? Does someone help you? Again, every time you see the reminder or encourage, nagging or prompting, it's interesting because in Scotland they use the words remind and encourage. In England and Wales they tend to use the phrase prompting. Again, use whatever it is that you would naturally say. So this again is aimed at people that are diagnosed with mental health conditions, PTSD, CPTSD, depression. OCD, and it is relevant for those of us with conditions that result in pain and fatigue, but generally the points for this goes to people diagnosed with mental health conditions. Don't forget that the encouragement doesn't need to be face to face. It doesn't need to be you're living with someone. It could be a friend that messages you. It could be anyway, let me come back to you. What I do tend to find when I work with clients that live on their own is, to start with, they'll say, it's just me, there's no one else. But the more that we talk and the more questions I ask, we then figure out that, oh, well, once a week, this person will contact me. Or, oh, well, this day I'll talk to this person. Or, well, if they don't hear from me, this person will contact me. Or my aunt will contact me like once a week. And then once you add all that up, we then figure out that, hang on a minute, so actually twice a day, you've got people checking in with you. So don't just think, well, I live on my own, so there's no one. For any of the sections that we're talking about, have a really good think about it. For any of you that don't know, PTSD is post-traumatic stress disorder. And generally, people that are diagnosed with that have experienced severe trauma. That could be in childhood or as an adult. For a number of people, food can be a trigger as well. Certain smells of food, certain sounds. Think about that as well, because that could be why someone is encouraging you, because you find it difficult to sit and eat a meal for whatever reason. You need to explain that in here, okay? In eating, taking nutrition, prompting is actually 4 points. This is a high number of points for prompting. To get these points, just being honest with you, you need to be very poorly, okay? Again, you've got to paint a picture. You've got to explain your life, your current daily life as it is. If you're underweight, make sure you state that, okay? On this one, because again, I'm doing one with mental health, I'm going to do the prompting. Don't forget, SCAR. Are we safe, consistent, and reliable? We need to put an average time in, an average amount of time that someone is prompting you. Average everything is so important that you're able to communicate how often you experience something. So with regards to the prompting, in the example I'm going to do, I'm going to explain this every day. And without that prompting, I wouldn't eat. Again, I'm not talking about myself. This is an example. So I've put prompting 4 points, daily or won't eat, underweight. How often? I'm sorry, I get ahead because I'm so used to explaining it. I get ahead, but look how wonderful this ADP is, that it is literally reminding you. And again, we don't get this in England and Wales, which is why I want you to use this structure. If you're using a feeding tube, make sure you clarify it. And if someone helps you, make sure you clarify that as well, and why. So this could be because of confusion during the night. It could be because of your physical ability with the tube and the machine. So let's just check out the points, because now we've done the prompting and we've done the needs a therapeutic source, the feeding tube, 2 points. If someone has assistance with that feeding tube, 6 points. The 10 points is for someone that obviously cannot move food to their mouth, okay? And I'm hoping that if you're watching this, you are able to do this. You're able to do that, which leaves us with using an aid. So let's go back to the ADP. This is what's brilliant. Again, the no spill cups, the larger cutlery. If you've seen any of my videos, I've got chunky cutlery, totally changed my life. Not just if you're in pain. If you're suffering from severe fatigue, I cannot tell you how having chunkier cutlery makes your life easier. It's just a relief when you use it. If you've got favourite spoon or fork, most of us move to just using a spoon or fork because using a knife and fork is too much or it's too painful. Or we do tend to prefer food that we can pick up. Again, there's a link in the description so you can see what aids I recommend. Now, the chopping food, I want to talk about that a little bit more. I want you to think about the meals that you currently have. I want you to think about what were they like before you were chronically ill. Are you eating different food now versus what you were before you were sick? If yes, okay, I want you to think about it a bit more. If someone's preparing meals for you, or you're buying ready-made meals, are the meals the type of food that you don't need to chop? Is it like shepherd's pie? Is it like a curry, just rice, so you can just mash the chicken with your fork and then you can eat it? Is whoever's doing the meals, are they doing something you can pick up, like pizza, that you can just pick it up, so you don't need to worry about the cutlery? Or are they just serving something in a bowl, so it's easier for you to eat? If yes, I want you to think, if you had to use a knife and fork every day, like your chicken breast that you needed the knife and fork on, DWP will use chicken as the example, not steak, chicken. If you had to use the knife and fork every day, would you, or would you just be to the point where you can't, or you just wouldn't eat it because of the energy that it would take, the pain increase? If someone's preparing, this is another the reason I'm asking you to really think about this is because a lot of people actually fit into the category of, we're not chopping the food, or someone is preparing meals rather than have a loved one chop our food for us. They're doing food so we can maintain our dignity, and we don't need to ask them to chop it. Because if another adult is chopping food for us, it's a bit of a kick in the balls, isn't it? Really think about it and then apply it to the points. So let's just look at the points again. So using an aid, supervision to be able to take nutrition if someone needs to be around us to make sure we're actually eating. Assistance to be able to cut up food. That assistance, so again, if the meals they're doing is already done so that you can just pick it up or scoop it, that's important here. Very important. I have a lot of clients that when we discuss this, they'll be like, yeah, I didn't realise it. Like when my daughter does the meals, she puts them in little pots for me so they can go in the freezer and I can take them out every day. But it's all like chopped. But I haven't asked her to cut the food for me. She's just prepared it that way. Brilliant. Brilliant. Really think about it. For the physical condition, we've got using an aid and the chopping of cutlery. So I've literally put chunky cutlery, which is the aid, and then the food is cut for me. Now, this is sometimes what people will say is they'll be like, yeah, but Charlie, they don't actually cut the food for me. So just explain that you're living off shepherd's pie or whatever it is, so that you don't have to cut food because of your hand pain or whatever the reason is. So I've put in how often. So we've got the daily. So in this one, there are 3 areas we can evidence. We can evidence the aid. We can evidence the food being cut up. So if someone's preparing meals for you, take a photo of those prepared meals. And the feeding tube. Take a photo of that as well, okay? Right, again, you can see how much I've written on this piece of paper. It's not much. Have you figured it out for you? Hope you have. The ADP, again, the bit that I love is, how are you after you've eaten? Are you in a position where sometimes when you're eating, you stop because you literally haven't got the energy to keep going, or your breathing's been impacted by it? Like for me, I drop and spill food. The bit here where they've said the length of time it takes you to eat a meal, this is really interesting because with the SCAR, are we safe, consistent, and reliable? It's about everything. How long does it take us to do it? That's really important. I don't want you to continue on a separate sheet of paper. This is enough space for you to put everything on that is relevant for them to be able to assess you. I understand that it's all well and good me doing this guide for you, but when it comes to filling the form, you're still looking at a blank piece of paper. So I've done a checklist for all of you to use. It's mainly for those of you doing PIP because ADP is laid out so well, but definitely check it out. And it's free. So you go to the link in the description to the website, and then there you can just download it from there. Okay, free for everyone. So let's go through it using the examples that we've discussed in this guide, and I'll give you a starting point for your form. So the beginning bit of the checklist is important things for you to remember. Always keep these in your head when doing the form. How often do you do this on average? And why are you only able to do it that often? Link to your conditions and symptoms. So let's check the notes. So we'll do the mental health example first. We explained that the person needs prompting daily or they won't eat because they're underweight. I have to be encouraged to eat every day because I don't feel hunger and I have no motivation to eat. What help do you have? My mum is always prompting me because I'm underweight. Check the points and see if we've covered everything. We know that we went through this really carefully and we've highlighted the relevant areas. Okay, that's the checklist. Can we put any evidence in? So regards for the mental health, there's no evidence we can put in for prompting. Okay, statements from family, friends, loved ones don't matter. Okay, so there's no evidence. That is it for the mental health one. That simple. Okay, so let's do the physical condition. Go back to the checklist. How often do you do this on average? I try to eat every day. Why are you only able to do it that often? Sometimes I am in too much pain and have no appetite. What help do you have? I have to use chunky cutlery due to the arthritis in my hands. I will buy pre-prepared meals like shepherd's pie, fish pie that I can scoop due to hand pain. Check the points and make sure, any specifics, okay? So we've covered everything on here that is relevant for this person, for their life. Okay, they don't have a feeding tube, they don't need prompting, they don't have assistance, they can eat. How long does it take you and how do you feel afterwards? Again, I wouldn't include this. It is in ADP and it's your choice, so I put it in because we've discussed it so much. So for example, if it was included here, it would be, after I've eaten, I feel exhausted and I have to rest. Number 6, could you include any evidence? Yes, we put some big E's. So I'd write, please refer to the additional evidence document attached with this form, full stop, and you can leave it there, or you can say, please refer to the additional evidence document attached with this form, where I've included photos of the aids that I use. That's it. Done. Finished. Currently on managing therapy. Now, this is generally the last section that I will talk to people about when I'm working one-on-one with them, because it is the most difficult to figure out, and it is the one that most people screw up. This section is about how much time someone or people spend monitoring you and supporting you. But this is going to be one that I can pretty much guarantee you're not going to be able to figure out just doing this with me and you. You're going to need to spend some time really thinking about it. So just be aware that at the end of this section, you're probably going to have action points where you need to focus on your life and try and figure it out. Oh, I just thought there is a quick way to do this. Do you have a registered carer? So carer, for someone to be registered as a carer, they need to do over 35 hours a week, is my understanding. If yes, it's really simple. You need to document that and put the evidence in. So let's check out the points first. So this is, you don't have medication or need to monitor a condition or you can manage everything yourself. Great, brilliant. Lots of people can, and I'm so happy for them. So this is if you use an aid and someone's prompting you a little bit, 1 point. Then we're getting into time. Focus on the time. No more than 3.5 hours a week that someone is supervising, prompting or assisting. Over 3.5 hours, but no more than 7. over 7 hours, but no more than 14, over 14 hours. So that, if you have a carer, you will be 8 points and you need to include the evidence. Let's check out the ADP. See, now it says here herbal medication is not included, but it did say earlier, it does say in ADP and it does say in PIP about remedies, okay? But I promise you they're not interested, okay? So that's got showing someone doing physio, it's got showing someone popping their own medication. If you get someone to pop your pills or use an aid, make sure you say that, okay? Because popping those pills is an absolute nightmare. Right, I love this wording. So monitoring, this is someone that's looking out for and dealing with any changes in your health. Those of you with mental health diagnosis, think about how severely your condition impacts you, and then think about your loved ones or those people that you live with or the friends that are checking in to see how you are, and then are probably putting in quite a lot of effort to influence you if they think you're going downhill. Really think about it. So doing therapy at home, physio, dialysis, those of you that have cerebral palsy, that someone needs to assist you with your physio, that is really important. You need to put that in on how long it takes you. Yeah, talking therapy and stuff like that is not included. What help you need? So this is the pill pots, someone reminding you, someone physically handing it to you. How many of you have someone that will literally get your medication and put it in your hand, or will put it beside the bed with a drink? And even if they do that, sometimes you still don't take it. You know, really think about it. And then obviously we're going into the why. Why do you need that help and how often? When I work with clients on this, it's not generally someone checking their temperature and taking blood sugar levels. It's generally someone checking that they're safe. Okay. It's checking, are they going to be able to get up today? Is it going to be a good day? And trying to encourage that. And you just got to be honest in this. This is what is, I think, is going to be really difficult, is when you're working this out and how often. You think about it, if you've got someone that, if you live with someone and they have to come upstairs to your bedroom to speak to you, to try and encourage you, then they go downstairs, then they're doing something else, then they come back upstairs, then they're trying to prompt you. All that time, all that up and down, thinking about it, the strategy. Think about the strategies that they're taking where they might not be nagging you. They might just be saying, why don't you have a shower today? Why don't you get dressed? Might just be a little friendly, nice comment that you don't even pay attention to, but they are monitoring you. Doing that therapy, like whether you do physio or not. And then if someone has to help you. So this could be someone, it's not just someone holding your legs when you're doing physio. This could be someone encouraging you to do it, because in most cases people don't like physio. So it's both physical and emotional. And then how long? And again, I don't want you to continue on a separate sheet of paper. No. For this one, I think for you to try and work it out, you really need to monitor yourself over the next 7 days and see how it goes. See how often someone does say, are you all right? Have you had something to eat? Have you taken your tablets? Here's your tablet. Take your tablet. Think about it. If you're asleep, then are they waking you up? Are they trying to encourage you? This is a difficult one to work out, which is why I leave it to last when I am working one-on-one with people. In the example I'm going to do, so in this one I've done for the physical condition about using an aid pill pot, and explained that it's due to hand pain, and that every day someone hands me those pills on a morning, but that's it, okay? Which would just be 1 point because it's not very long. But with regards to the mental health, we've said full-time carer, which is actually 8 points, as well as using an aid, the pill pot. Evidence-wise, so the evidence would be the using the aid, the pill pot, and if you have a full-time carer, you want that. If you claim carers award or whatever it's called, you want that letter to prove that. I'm sorry that this one is, you need to figure it out. But again, it's very difficult and you really have to dig into your life to work this one out. Then we'll go number 1. How often do you do this? So in this example, I have daily assistance, why are you only able to do it that often? It's not quite worded right for this example, but I needed to use the wording to cover all the 12 activities. I need this assistance due to the severity of my depression. What help do you have? I have a full-time carer, and that carer uses a pill pot, is always monitoring how I am, and makes sure that I take my medication when needed. Check the points. We know that for the mental health, we've covered off their aid and that they're in this category. There's nothing else that we need to cover off. The check about making sure the points is me trying to get you to keep referring back to the points, okay? I'm hoping with this guide you've got notes that look like this regarding your life. How long does it take and how do you feel afterwards? I'm not going to write anything on that for this one. Number 6, evidence. Yes, we can evidence both areas. So we can take a photo of the pill pot, and when you do that, please make sure that you take the photo of the pill pot and you have a box of medication in the shot that shows your name and address on it. So you're proving it is yours and you haven't just gone onto Google and taken a photo of a pill pot. Yeah. The full-time carer you can evidence as well. So whether that carer is someone allocated by the government or the mental health team, or it's a family member and you claim carer's allowance, you will have a letter. Make sure you put a photograph of that letter. Don't ever send the original off. A photograph of that letter in your evidence pack. Done for the mental health. That's it. Okay, let's go on to the physical condition example. Back to the beginning. Number 1, how often do you do this? I have to use a pill pot every day. Why are you only able to do it that often? Condition symptoms. I need the pill pot due to brain fog. I forget if I've taken my medication. And due to the pain in my hands from my arthritis, I can't pop the pills myself. What help do you have? My husband hands me my medication once a day from the pill pot. He also pops the pills into there for me. The points, we know that we've covered everything because I've been methodical as we've gone through this guide. How long does it take and how do you feel afterwards isn't relevant for this bit because we've explained the solution. Can we evidence it? Yes, we've got a big E. So it's exactly the same as what I said regarding the mental health. Take a photo of the pill pot. Make sure in that shot you've got a box of medication with your name and address on it so they can see that it is yours and you are telling the truth. Done. So are you a shower or a bath person when you're able to do it? So have a think about it. Make a note if you're a shower or bath person because it is relevant to obviously your life and then how you manage that process. So this is really nice and clear and explains how the points work. So think about, are you able to wash your own hair? How long is it you go in between washing or showering? I do have obviously lots of videos on PIP and, for some reason I've slid to the side, PIP and ADP. But I want to remind you about this showering and washing. I do not want you to feel guilty if you're not able to regularly shower and bathe. I used to be a humanitarian worker. I've spent a lot of time with people that will never have a shower or a bath in their lifetime. The generations before them never had a bath or shower in their lifetime. And the generations coming forward will not have a bath or shower in their lifetime because water is more valuable than gold. We are so privileged in the UK and it's become part of our culture that you have to shower and bathe every day. And if you don't, you're disgusting. Bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. That is one of the few benefits of being chronically ill is I'm much more environmentally friendly now than what I was when I was able-bodied because I physically cannot have a shower or bath regularly. So currently I have a bath and I did have one before Christmas. Treated myself. The aftermath was awful. It wasn't really worth it, but it was nice having cleaner hair. Before that, my birthday was in July. I had one in July. And I think I maybe had 2 between July and December, but that's it. And I don't feel guilty. I use wipes to wash. when I can. I haven't actually used wipes for probably 3 days because I'm just feeling so rough. I'm really struggling. I know that, like, to people out there, they're like, don't look sick. I know I don't look sick. I don't look like I'm struggling because I'm sitting chatting with you. Should let me close my curtains. So I've got my pill pot and my happy cow that a friend gave me, makes me happy. I've got a newer pill pot. One of you sent me this, thank you. I used to be what's called an industrial engineer, where you analyze processes and you make them as efficient as possible. When it comes to having a shower, there are over 75 different tasks you have to do. Pick up the shampoo, unpop the shampoo, squeeze the shampoo, rub shampoo, rinse. And if you burn out, if you're done and you need to go to bed, you can't just stop. You've got to keep going. And after you've had a shower and a bath, it's so dangerous. The risk of slipping. For a lot of us, if we have a fall and pop a hip, it puts our lives at risk. Okay, it is so dangerous. Trying to then dry yourself and put your clothes back on. I wear oversized clothes. Most of us wear oversized clothes, so it's easier to get on. You try putting those on when your legs are still sticky from being in a shower or bath. It is dangerous. I totally understand. If you do not feel well enough to do it, do not get guilted into it and pushed into it. Don't forget that our loved ones don't understand what it feels like for us. My mum, the amount of times where I have a bath and she's like, do you feel better? Like when I had the last bath I had, when I stood up to get out, so I've got a handle and I stood up to get out and I thought, shit, I'm going to pass out. I've got Ollie with me. So I got Ollie. I've got one hand on the handle, one hand on the dog, totally naked. Like what? It's not glamorous. Being chronically ill is so unglamorous. It's ridiculous. And I'm trying not to pass out. I didn't dare sit back down in the bath because I didn't want to have to call my mum and be naked in I was like, oh, I need to get out. I need to get out. It was awful. And then once I managed to get dressed and get out, waited until the moment passed, get dressed, get out. My mum's like, do you feel better? No, I don't fucking feel better. No, I don't feel better. I feel horrendous. It wasn't worth it. I shouldn't have done it. If I'd have passed out when I was stood up, I would have gone toppled out of the bath. Ollie would have done her best, but what was she going to do? I'm 5'10". I put my life at risk and it was wrong. I shouldn't have done it. So if you are not bathing often, I promise, do not feel guilty. It's just purely our culture in this country. We'll get on to it, but that's so important. And I do think because most people that book me, like people don't book me if they've got a boo-boo. No one comes to me and goes, Charlie, I've got a sore elbow. I don't have those conversations with people. You book me when you're really sick and when you really need help. Most people I work with, claiming for PIP and ADP is a last resort. This is not something we want to do. And it helps that you've seen these videos so people don't feel as bad when they're saying, I have maybe once every 10 days, if that. I get it. You just got to be honest. Just be honest, okay? So if you're able to wash and bathe without issue, whenever you want, with no aftermath, I'm so happy for you. No points, you can move on to the next section. Let's just skip to the worst bit as well. So if you cannot wash and bathe at all and you need another person to assist you, so that this is someone that's getting full care. This is someone that can't stand on their own. This is full care. 8 points, and I'm hoping you're not in that position. So we've got the normal aid, we've got the prompting for the mental health conditions, and then we're trying to figure out the parts of the body. So is it below the waist that you need assistance, getting in or out of the shower or bath, or upper body that you need assistance? So let's go to the ADP and check out what they say in that as well. They in their ADP, they tend to do mental health first. So they're asking about someone reminding you or encouraging you. If you're in the ADHD category, you could be like trying to have, for those of you with severe ADHD, trying to have a bath like that, getting your clothes out, getting there, run the bath, You always see something shiny, like you're gone. It's a nightmare to do. Those of you with depression, be honest in how long you go without having a bath. Obviously, again, how often is someone reminding and encouraging you? Again, I do love their examples for the on average. So I tend to work it out over 7 days. I work it out with clients over 7 days. And it could be, a lot of people seem to be every 3 to 5 days. If we're not in the 3 to 5 days, we're going to the 10 days to 2 weeks. If it's not 10 days to 2 weeks, it could be months. Again, you've just got to be honest, okay? Aids that are needed: grab rails, bath seats, help from someone else. See, now this bit here where it says you need to answer this even if you don't have a bath or a shower in your home. What's really interesting is they don't show any real interest in that in the assessments. They want to know what is your life. So, but again, we can just explain it. On the form, I just want you to put what is your current life, okay? Whether you need help to get in and out the shower or the bath, you need to explain it, why and how. So when I work with people, I have to be able to run it like a movie in my head. I have to be able to see exactly what they're holding on to. A lot of people hold on to the shower door, you're holding on to a sink, a radiator, a shelf, a handle. You've got to explain it step by step. Obviously, how often. That one's quite interesting. You see where it says poor balance? I forget that. A lot of us are very wobbly on our feet, especially those in pain, running out of energy. We're not eating properly. So that if you're worried or you've had a fall, make sure you include that in here. This one is quite interesting. So I have a number of clients where they won't have a shower or bath unless someone is in the house. So it's not necessarily that someone's in the bathroom with them, but the door is unlocked or open so that if anything goes wrong, someone can get to them. If that is you, make sure you make a note of that, what aids you're using. Then we're talking about, can you wash your hair between your shoulders and waist? So if you're struggling with one of your arms, then you'd be in the category of struggling with your shoulders, waist, under your boobs, below your waist. I'm just going to go with you the way that I do it rather than ADP. You know that I do love the layout of the ADP, but let's just go through it my way. Right, hair. Can you do your hair? Is someone helping you with your hair? Can you do under your arms, both sides? Is someone helping you? Under your boobs, then groin. I say groin, so it's comfortable for whoever I'm talking to. Can you do groin or in between your legs is a terminology I'd use. Any of you that have sat on a seat in a shower or a bath will understand that it makes it very difficult to clean yourself. So it was to the point where if I have to sit on a seat, I'd rather not bother because, okay, my shoulders are getting water on them, but the bits that I really want to clean, they're like squished together because I'm sitting on a seat. It's not very good. Right, so in between your legs, then down your body, feet. Now, again, all I want you to do is be honest. I had in one of my assessments for me, the assessor was so focused on me cleaning my feet. Can I clean my feet? I said, no, I can't clean my feet. Who cleans your feet? And I was like, no one. Well, how do you clean your feet? And I was like, well, I don't, you know, well, how are your feet cleaned? And I'm like, where do you think my feet are going? Like, at that time, I was barely leaving my home. I was like, they go from bed socks to bed socks. I'm not sweating in bed in my bed socks. You know, my feet cold. That's why they're in bed socks. You don't need to make a big hoo-ha about feet. The reality is that most of us, if we're in the shower or bath, we'll just stick our feet in the water and that'll do. If you got one of those long things to reach it, great. If you can touch your feet, brilliant. Oh, well done you on your hips and lungs on your bending. So you can just be honest and say, I just let the water run over my feet. On your assessment, not on your form, okay? Let's link it back to the points. Are you using an aid? Remember, it doesn't need to be an aid that you've brought from Disability Shop or Amazon or somewhere like that. If you are holding on to something or using something that you weren't using before chronic illness, and it's aiding you to be able to do the task. It's an aid. So, and you've got to be clear on the shelf, radiator, whatever it is you're using. Okay. Supervisional prompting for the mental health conditions. Yeah, we've covered all the areas of the body, so you can see the being able to wash between your shoulders and waist. Now, look, I can't wash my back. No one's washing my back. I'm not having my mum come in when I'm in the bath on the rare occasions I'm in there and washing my back for me. I'm just not. Don't worry again if you're not, but I don't count as the points for that because I'm not doing it and my back's not, it's not like I'm rolling around in the mud or anything. Right, just before we go on to our examples, let's go back to the ADP because I love this on how long does it take you to have a bath or shower and how do you feel afterwards? I went through a phase for years. The first 10 years of being chronically ill was horrendous. That's why I started this channel because I don't ever want anyone to suffer the way I did in that first 10 years. If I had a bath, I would be out of it for the weekend. I was still working. I was still trying to maintain a job. I wasn't trying, I was maintaining a job. But if I had a bath that whole weekend, I was absolutely out of it, in bed, asleep, couldn't do anything, couldn't function at all because of how bad it was in that trying to have a bath. So you need to be clear on that. Just be blunt, keep it short. And again, I don't want you to continue on another piece of paper. This is enough space for you to put everything in here. So let's go back to your notes. So washing and bathing. So we'll do the mental health condition first in my posh black pen, which will basically be prompting. I think in a lot of cases with the prompting, it's actually every day or every few days, but we're not doing it. You're not doing it, even if they are nagging you every day. So I'm going to explain that it's daily. So we've got that daily nagging, bath every 10 days. So it's the prompting, which is 2 points. So let's do the physical condition. So in this example, I really hope you can see this, otherwise I've wasted a lot of time. Right. Oh. So I'm saying once a week, have a bath using a handle, which is the aid, which is 2 points. But in this example, I'm saying I need help to get in and out of the bath because of lifting my left leg. Now, if you have whatever condition you've got, so for example, it's arthritis. When I say to people, which is your worst side? Oh, they're both bad. No. There's always one side that's a bit worse. Make sure you clarify it. Make sure you say which side. Okay? Now, don't forget what I said about the points at the very beginning. See, for the physical condition, it's 2 points for using an aid and 3 points for getting in and out. So how many points is that they're going to give? Is it 2 plus 3 equals 5 points? Is it the 2 points? 3 points? It's the highest number of points. So you've got to be honest. You've got to explain what your life is. So they use an aid to get in and out of the bath, and they have assistance because their left leg, for example, it could be like their knee doesn't bend, so someone's got to lift them in. They will give 3 points. Okay. Have you figured it out for you? Have you got this sussed? If you are struggling, you can watch the other videos I've got. And of course, you can go into the description and you could book time with me. I'm hoping that these guides will be enough. Okay. So let's do our big fat evidence. So the evidence will be the aid. This one as well of the getting in and out. I've actually started photographing this a bit more. So say for example, codename Ugandan family. Everyone I work with gets a code name because I don't want anyone's names linked with me due to haters. And because I'm being monitored by DWP and the newspapers look at what I do and everything, right? So everyone gets a code name. Codename Ugandan family, they did an amazing picture because it took me a while to figure out how they got out of the bath. Because what they were doing was, actually, I'm not going to go into detail. You have to be able to explain it. Okay, it's really important. So I'm actually going to put the evidence on the getting in and out if you're holding on to something or someone's assisting you. Now, most of the photos for evidence, you don't need to be in it, but if you can, that's great. I had codename Team Sleepers, went to tribunal. He paid a lot of money to have someone help him, and they were not helpful. I was furious. When we met, I didn't understand that he'd actually already had someone, but then he found me on YouTube. We did the evidence pack that I'm showing you how to do. Make sure you watch the evidence bit at the end, and there is a separate video on it. Actually, no, make sure you watch the evidence video. I'm not going to include it in here because it's just too much. This will be too long. You've already been sat with me for forever. Like, going through PIP and ADP, it's a long-term journey. Like, people that I work with, we're together for years. Like, I want you to fly the nest. I want you to have enough knowledge and be empowered to do this yourself. But quite often I'll work with people and then they'll just come back because it's a comfort blanket knowing that someone actually gets it and to make sure you do it right. I get it. So I am going to put that, sorry, that was a long way round. I think my pain meds have kicked in, so I've just got very, very chatty. So I am going to put the evidence for that bit as well, so you can take photos showing what you get out. But if someone is helping you, it is more difficult. You don't need to have that photo of someone linking arms with you. You don't need 3 people to take the photo. Okay. Have you figured it out for you? Are you there? Hope so. Right, let's go through the checklist for this section. We're going to do the mental health condition first. So how often do you do this on average? Let's check our notes. I tend to have a bath about every 10 days. Why are you only able to do it that often? Refer to condition and symptoms. Because of my depression, I find it very hard to get motivated. I don't see the point in washing. Number 3, what help do you have? So if it's prompting aids, etc. My mum nags me every day trying to get me to have a bath, but I just can't. But I just find it overwhelming. Check the points and make sure we've covered everything. So with regards to mental health, there's no physical conditions in this example that we're doing. So they don't tick any of the boxes. Is that a hair on the screen? No, it's a hair on the document. A Matilda hair, that is, sorry. She's tucked up in bed at the moment, Matilda, bless her. Right. How do you feel afterwards? Again, I said with PIP that I wouldn't put it in the form, but I'll give you an example. I do feel better after I've had a bath, but I still don't feel able to do it any more often. Number 6, the important one, is there anything we can do for evidence? The prompting we can't. Like I've said before, it's no point in putting a statement from your loved one, your mum or friends or anything, because it wouldn't hold up in a court of law and they just won't take it into account. So there's no evidence. So with regards to the mental health, this one is complete. So let's go to the physical condition. Let's go back to the checklist. How often do you do this on average? Look at our notes. So I didn't actually make a note of how long. So realistically, if this person is having to have assistance to get in and out, they're probably not going to be doing this every day. So let's say I have a bath every 3 days. Obviously, you work out what is your reality, yeah? Why are you only able to do it that often? Conditions and symptoms. I have to have assistance to get in and out of the bath. I don't like being a burden, so I don't ask to bath more often. And I can't do it myself. What help do you have? I have a handle that I hold as I'm trying to get into the bath. And then my husband has to lift my left leg over the edge of the bath so that I can get into it. Check the points. So we know, because these are my notes, we know I've covered everything. But when you're going through it, just check them again, just in case you've missed something. And in case you haven't done your notes on the points like this, you've got to, everything's about these points. This is what you're assessing yourself against. Number 6, evidence. Take a photo. We've got the big E for evidence. Take a photo of the handle that you're holding on to. And this one, see, I've put evidence for about the lifting the leg. So in this example, what could be good is obviously fully clothed. Fully clothed. If the individual was holding the handle and then was lifting their left leg to show the maximum height the leg could go to without pushing it, that, and then you could write in the evidence document. So let's say, so this is what I'd put on the form. Please refer to the additional evidence document I have attached with this form. I've included a photo of the handle I hold, and my husband took a photo, so you can see how high I'm able to lift my left leg and why he has to help me. That would be good. And then their medical records would back it up as well. So that would be stunning evidence. Done! Hi everyone, my name's Charlie and I've helped over 150 people in the UK win their PIP or ADP claims. I also receive PIP myself. For those of you that don't know, those of us in England and Wales, it's called PIP, Personal Independence Payment. Those of you in Scotland, it's called ADP, Adult Disability Payment. This is going to be the best step-by-step guide I have ever done for a PIP claim. And it doesn't matter where you are in the process, it is worth you watching this guide. I'm going to be really structured about how I do this. So for you to get the most out of this guide, have a pen, paper. If you can, print the points off. So in the description, there's a link to the website. These are the government points, not mine. There'll be a link there so you can print them off. If you don't have a printer, just get a pen and paper. And as we go through things like preparing food, you'll be able to write it down, okay? You are not going to make many notes. I'm going to help you focus on what is unique to you. That is how you win PIP. It's about current daily life. You need to be able to communicate on average what your current daily life is like. And I'm going to show you examples of that as we go through this. And throughout the process, I'm going to keep asking you questions to get you thinking about your life. That is how you win. Obviously, I'm going to help you understand the process and how to word it so that they, the DWP, get it. We need them to get it, okay? You've got to be honest throughout. Honest throughout. Never just tell them about your worst days, because that's being fraudulent and it will cause you issues in the future. If you just tell them about your worst days, that means that when you go out, it looks like you are a liar. So stick with me, because I promise I know what I'm doing. I thought in Scotland they treated people more fairly, and they could, but what I've discovered, a client sent me the ADP booklet, which is about 133 pages. In England and Wales, the booklet we get is about 44 pages. I'm saying about because sometimes they tweak the form slightly. The layout of the Scottish booklet, I think, is fantastic. It really does cut the crap and help the government identify where you are. It helps you be specific about your life. So this guide, we are going to use that booklet to help us stay on track and help you win at the start. I get so many clients that come to me when they're down the line, and then I have to try and unpick everything and figure out where they are. I want you to win at the beginning. If you follow the steps that I'm going to lay out for you, this is 100% possible. You are proving it. Check out the comments in the other videos. By the way, all the links to me is in the description. There's a link to my website. There's a link so you can book me, because I do have a consultancy where I help people do PIP. Before we look at ADP and apply it to PIP for England and Wales and the points, I want to talk to you about the toileting. Just me talking to you. I see a lot of confusion from people where they don't understand why they only got 2 points. They experience incontinence, but they only got 2 points for using an aid, pads. If you are suffering from incontinence and you're able to clean up yourself without assistance from others, it's correct. It's only 2 points. Okay? Let me show you the points so you understand what I mean. Can manage the toilet needs is 0. Using an aid, so in the example I'm talking about the pads, but look here, needs prompting or supervision to manage toilet needs, needs assistance, so that would be, for example, someone lifting up your skirt, pulling your trousers down, getting your pants down. and then assistance to manage either bladder or bowel incontinence. And then the big points is both bladder and bowel incontinence. Okay, which one are you? Now, for example, if you have 2 accidents a year and you need assistance with those accidents, so for example, you get a really severe diarrhea and someone has to help you with your clothing, etc., twice a year, that is not enough to get the points. Remember, SCAR the line. Are you safe, consistent, and reliable? And it's current daily life. Current daily life. So once or twice a year doesn't count enough. I know it's horrendous and I'm so sorry, but it's not enough to categorize in the points. If it's happening, let me come back to you. You know where we're working everything out on average. So say, for example, and I have to do this a lot with clients, where they'll be like, yeah, but Charlie, it's like, you know, it happens for a few days, a month. So I'll be like, okay. So for example, it's both bladder and bowel, so diarrhea and urine. So I'm like, right, so they'll go through a phase for whatever reason. It could be a flare up, it could be let's just go with flare up. So I'm like, okay, so over a 4-week period, they'll get 1 week where it could be like 3 to 5 days. Let's say 5 days, right? So I'm like, okay, so we don't want to work it out on a monthly basis. We want to work it out on a weekly basis. On average, 4 weeks in a month, they have 5 days where they need assistance. So that's on average more than once a week. That simple. That's how you've got to translate it, because that's how they work it out. If you're like, but Charlie, I don't know, think about the past week. How often did it happen? With incontinence, I really think we need to think about it over a 2-week to 4-week basis. You will know if you need assistance. And this is where you can save a lot of hassle. Does someone help you? Yes, no. And it's not just someone changing the bed. So there seems to be a lot of men where it's at night. Okay. So if that's the case, make sure you record that. And the assistance is assistance with the clothing, with getting the clothes off. So I definitely think a lot of people have assistance where you want to try and get the clothes off and you don't want to spread it more over your body than what it is because you're already in a mess. So if someone's helping you get the pads down, the pants down, get the clothes off, get the clothes bagged or however you're doing it, and then do the bedding, you can explain that. But they need to be assisting you. If they're just helping with the bedding, I'm saying just, but I know this is a big deal, okay? But from a PIP ADP point of view, if someone is just doing your bedding, it's not points, okay? So you don't need to go into that detail. You can mention it, but you don't need to go into the detail. We're focusing on the relevant information that they need to know. Now, I hope that helps clarify that. When it comes to those of us that are having accidents and we're wearing pads, I've had accidents. The first time it happened to me, I was still employed running the New Look transport contract. I was in a senior manager meeting. Fortunately, I was wearing a really long high-vis jacket that came below my knees. I didn't have the energy to get up and go to the toilet. It was too far away. And I was too embarrassed to say I needed to go back, even though my boss was like, do you need to go? I didn't want to go because I was too embarrassed. And I wet myself and I didn't want to tell anyone. And a friend, also another senior manager, transported me from that location to the hotel. But the problem was she kept, because you don't often go to different sites, everyone kept chatting to her and I was like, we've got to leave, I've got to leave. And then as soon as she got me into the hotel, I just burst out crying. And I still didn't tell her. There's no nice way to have an accident. There's incontinence, there is no nice way to be incontinent. There just isn't. It sucks. I get it. We just need to be honest with them. Now, this is going to link in for a lot of you with toileting issues. This will link into mixing with people face to face, which we're going to come on to. It's really important that you are transparent, open and honest with them about this. I'm going to tell you now, right? In my experience, and I have a lot of it now, the assessors, this is my most hated video, the assessors are lovely, right? Really lovely. It's not them that allocates the points, it goes to a caseworker. When it comes to this toileting section, every single time, they've been absolutely lovely. No one wants to talk about this. They are better at questioning people about incontinence than what they are mental health. They truly are. So be brave in this section. Be brave. You are not alone. There are millions of us experiencing incontinence. There are millions of us experiencing severe diarrhea that catches us off guard. I do love working with my male clients, but there's the things you come out with when it comes to your accidents is just brilliant. Like, I'm trying to be professional. It's a good job you all meet me on YouTube because I'm trying to be professional and they say something and I can't help but laugh. They're obviously doing it on purpose to make me laugh, but just be honest, okay? So what are we talking about when it comes to going to the toilet? Getting on and off. Well, that's high risk, isn't it? John, my physio, and I, we are going to be doing a video on toileting because the number of people that have falls from the toilet is really high. So we're going to be talking about this, and this is an area I struggle with as well. Urinating, peeing or pooing. Bowel is pooing. Okay, catheter or stoma bag. So when it says about changing your clothes here, that's in the dressing and undressing section. We're not going into that detail in this one. This is purely toileting, okay? Cleaning ourselves. I'm coming back to you for this one. I'm going to be really honest with you because I think it helps. I struggle so much to clean myself after a bowel movement, after I've had a poo, okay? It's the twisting to try and clean yourself. For a female, you're supposed to go from front to back because you don't want to rub feces into your vagina, so you don't wipe that way. It's a nightmare. We're using our hands, we're using our shoulders, we're standing. For me, standing still is the worst possible thing. If I'm doing a slow move forward, that is less painful and exhausting for me than standing. Well, I can't clean myself whilst moving forward. So there are many, many times where I have not been able to fully clean myself. And I am so grateful to those of you that have talked to me about this so I don't feel alone. I'm so grateful to those of you brave enough to comment on the other toileting video I've got. It's awful when you are so exhausted that you literally can't clean yourself and you're not fully clean, but you can't do any more. I've had that this week. It's unfortunately a regular occurrence for me. Now, I don't get points for this because I'm not having my mum assist me. I'm just not. I would rather be unclean, have to rest, and then use wipes to clean myself than have assistance and get clean straight away. It's a very big difference when we move into the category where people have to clean us after using the toilet. I refuse to be in that category at this point. So for me, after a bowel movement, I stand up from the toilet, of which I'll hold on to something to pull. By the way, actually, I'm not even going to get into that. I'll wait until me and my physio do that video, me and John do that video, because it's going to blow your mind. It's going to make your life a lot better. I then turn around to face the toilet so I can hold on to the toilet, the bit where you flush, so I can hold on to that so that I don't topple over. And then the toilet roll is there, so I'm closer to the toilet roll to try and clean myself. It's exhausting. It's exhausting. It is so difficult doing this. Because don't forget, before we even get to the point of wiping, we've had to get all the way to the toilet. We've had to get our clothes down. We've had to sit down. We've gone to the toilet. Then you've got to stand back up again. How many of you get stuck on the toilet where getting back up is a problem? This all is relevant for this section. We are not alone. This is very, very difficult. Okay. Now, I have actually, for any of you that don't know, YOLO, codename YOLO, looks after communication for me. So she looks after emails. So she sent me some aids to try. I haven't tried them because I've just been too ill recently, but I will be trying. She got a cleaner for me because you know there are toilets that can clean you so you can maintain your independence. So she got this cleaner thing for me, which I'm going to try, and a bottom buddy, which I'm going to try. I haven't tried yet. So that I don't need to do the twisting. So we'll let you. I'll film those. Obviously, the camera will be very specific. I'm not actually going to show me wiping myself on YouTube. That's just taking it too far. But I want to know if those aids are good. And big shout out to everyone with hemorrhoids. You are not alone. Oh, they're so painful. It's more to do. They're sore. The creams, like all a lot of really sore bums out there, and a lot of vaginas that it is a reasonable request to air your vagina. It's reasonable. I understand if you're incontinent and you've got a trickle all the time or you're wearing pads all the time. It's a reasonable request to want to air your vagina. I'm with you. It's reasonable. Oh, right, let's get. Oh, I haven't even looked at ADP yet. Let's go on. I just wanted to clarify that first so that you know you are not alone. So, incontinence, I have a lot of clients where you get the urge where you have to go. There's no time, where that's it, or you've gone and you don't know about it. Especially the bowel movements, the diarrhea, where it's leaking, or it's explosive. It's difficult. So when I work with people on this, I'm like, is it a leak or is it a flood? Because there is a big difference when it comes to how you manage it. So I would explain that as well. Is it a little bit or is it a lot? And if it's explosive, be clear about that because the pads aren't. I have so many people where the pads are not enough when it's explosive. Okay. By the way, if you have to use pads all the time, I know they're really expensive. You can get them on prescription. So make sure you speak to your GP about that. Right. So do you have incontinence? Now, again, they're breaking it down to bladder, urine, wee, bowel, poo, diarrhea, whatever you're experiencing. I haven't met anyone with constipated incontinence yet. Does someone need to remind you to go to the toilet? It doesn't count if it's someone has to remind you before you go out. That's not enough, okay? So how often does someone remind you? And then equipment, so aids. So the pads, obviously the stoma pads, anyone helping you, getting on and off the toilet. This is not the way to help someone get on and off the toilet, just holding their hands. I don't like that picture at all. The raised toilet seat, the frames around the toilet. I do find that for a lot of people, the frames to push yourself up is a lot harder than to pull, okay? So if you're using a radiator, a drawer, a shelf, whatever, a door handle, whatever you're using to pull yourself up, you just have to be honest. Anything else like bottom buddies, look in the description because don't forget I've got that list in the description of all the aids that I've tested or that are recommended, or just go onto Amazon and Google it. Go into Amazon and type disability aids for the toilet. So this is, again, you can do it or you need something to help you like the aid or someone to help you. I can use it using something, so you explain what it is and why. This bit where someone else helps me, so it could be, for example, when you're in flare-up, that you get to the toilet and you're just holding on to something while someone pulls down your pyjama bottoms for you, and then you can just sit down and go to the toilet. You just need to work out the on average and try and make it a weekly average. I don't want you going on to extra pieces of paper. There is absolutely enough space in both the Scottish and the English and Welsh version of these forms. You do not need more space. If you're thinking, yeah, but Charlie, I need to write more. No, you don't. It's too much and it's not relevant. You need to rewatch this video. So let's go on to our examples. With regards to the mental health, so I'm going to say nothing. They can manage the toileting themselves. On your form, you can literally, if you don't need help with something, just put no issue. Just leave it like that. It does help if you do that on your form. It really does help. I've literally put using an aid. So it's the pads and the frame around the toilet. Okay. Which would be evidenced. The photograph, again, at the end of this video, there'll be the link to the evidence video. Okay. Right. Have you figured out where you are? I hope you've got this nice and clear. And again, if you haven't been able to print this out, it's fine. You should just have toilet written down and then where you are in the points. Okay, so those of you doing PIP, you're still going to have to look at a blank piece of paper after watching this guide. So I've done a checklist to help you. Those of you doing ADP, you've seen the format of the booklet is brilliant. So hopefully you're able to go through with this guide. But still watch this bit in case it helps. Okay, so I've done a checklist. It's free. Go to the description and then it links to the website where you can download this. Let's have a look at it. So the first bit of the checklist is reminding you of the really important points that we've discussed throughout this guide. Then we've got the checklist for actually filling out your form. So we're doing toileting, and what I've done is, obviously there's 12 sections, so I've had to do a checklist that covers it as best as possible. Okay, so let's remind ourselves of the points that we've issued as examples throughout this guide. So for the mental health condition, we said no issues, 0 points. So you would literally write no issues. If you want to write a bit more, you could put no issues, I'm able to go to the toilet on my own. For the physical condition, we said that this person uses an aid. They have to use pads due to incontinence and they have a frame around the toilet. 2 points. Let's go back to our checklist. So how often do you do this on average? Because remember, everything's been on average. So you would write something like, I am able to go to the toilet when needed. Why are you only able to do it that often? So because we are able to go to the toilet, this one isn't relevant. Okay, what help do you have? Let's just check the notes we made. So this is why this is so important. Okay, I have to wear pads due to incontinence, and I have a frame around the toilet to help me get back up after I have been, for example. Check the points and refer to any specifics. Really important, every single time, check the points. So just, again, triple checking. The person, we're doing the physical conditions, they don't need prompting, they don't need assistance at this point in their lives to be able to manage the toilet needs, and they don't have help with the incontinence. Even though they use pads and they are incontinent, no one has to help them change their pad or get clean afterwards. So we've covered everything that is required within PIP and ADP, everything that they're trying to figure out about us during the assessment. Go back to the checklist. Okay, so that one's done. Number 5, how long does it take you and how do you feel afterwards? So that is what ADP always asks, and in PIP, it's never asked. So my advice is, I wouldn't write that in the form for PIP. I would save that for the assessment. But to be honest, I think, and I've helped over 150 people, I've only experienced a handful of times someone saying, and how do you feel after that? It's so rare. So I wouldn't put it on the form. It's your choice because you will have space. More importantly, number 6, is this a section you could include evidence in? So let's go back to our notes. Yes, we did the big E for evidence. Yes. So I would write, and you can do this in ADP as well, please refer to the additional evidence document attached with this form where I have included I've included photos of the aids I use. You can use that, you can just write that one every time because it's nice and simple, okay? If you're running out of space, which none of you should be watching these guides, you could just put, please refer to the additional evidence document. But you should have plenty of space because we are cutting the crap, okay? So the checklist. That's it. Done. What do they mean by dressing and undressing? It's literally putting on and taking off your clothes, being able to pick out suitable clothes. So for people that are neurodivergent that will wear shorts when it's the middle of a rainstorm or it's snowing, that will categorise here. Buttons. How many of us are no longer wearing clothes with buttons, we're wearing oversized clothing so it's easier to get on. Or those of us that are staying in our pajamas because we either can't get motivated to get changed or it's physically too much for us, like for me today. Socks. Socks are evil. Evil. Are you able to get dressed without issue? Yes or no? If someone has to always help you get dressed, so for example, if someone's had a severe stroke, that will be that category. So if you can get dressed and undressed and there's no issues whatsoever, brilliant, no points. Or if you are someone has a full care, they're not able to stand up themselves, they literally have to have someone dress them, is 8 points. Generally, I find that most of us are not in that category, thankfully. Again, we can see here, using an aid, the prompting. So this first bit here about prompting is regards to mental health. The prompting or assistance to be able to select appropriate clothing, that's aimed at people that are neurodivergent. Then we're going to figure out the parts of the body. Socks. Do you need assistance putting your socks on? Do you use an aid to put your socks on? What about your upper body? Have you got any issues with the shoulders, getting your arm into something, doing up your bra? Bras are a nightmare. Again, they're starting off with the mental health conditions about being prompted, reminded, encouraged to get dressed and why. And I know if you're watching this all the way through and you're a bit like, Charlie, this is the same. Yeah, it is. It is. It is. Why do you need to be prompted? And you can just be really simple on because my depression is so bad. But then you've got to add in the reason why. Like, what is it that's in your head? Why aren't you just getting dressed yourself? What is the reason why? You need to put in what's unique to you. And it is difficult writing that down or seeing it in writing. It is a bit of a slap in the face. But that's, again, how you win. It's got to be unique to you. How often is someone reminding you or encouraging you to get dressed or undressed? I like that example there. When my mood is low, I need help every day. This can be 3 weeks out of every 4. I do tend to write on average. So for my clients, we'll figure it out and I'll be like, on average, I'm changing my clothes every 3 days because I cannot get motivated to do otherwise. And again, they've got in about the pain. So even though this prompting is, it says about being painful, again, they allocate the points here for mental health conditions. Do you need someone to choose suitable clothing? Again, that's aimed at the people that are neurodivergent. And how often do you need this help? If someone doesn't understand clothing for the right weather, it's going to be all the time, isn't it? Right. AIDS. Okay. So you can see the grabber. So for me, the grabber, when I drop things, I use Ollie, my assistant's dog. Amazing. Like if you've got a dog, I highly recommend you do trick training with them because the difference having a dog that will pick things up for you, it's amazing. And they love taking socks off. Shoehorn for not bending down. A lot of people that I talk to now are getting Skechers. The sock puller. These sock pullers are good, but you need to be really good with your fingers to pull it on to get it right to be able to use the aid. Loose clothing, yeah, all of us are wearing oversized clothing. I very rarely meet people that are still in fitted clothing. Velcro fastening, you can, whatever it is. A lot of us, we don't go for Velcro. We're not going for these full, like, old-fashioned slippers. We're going for footwear that we can slip on and slip off. And you just need to clarify that. What they haven't put in here is the button and zip aid. So think about it. What were you wearing before you were chronically ill? What are you wearing now? Did you used to wear a shirt or blouse with buttons, zips? Are you now? The whole point of this is we're supposed to be able to get dressed exactly like we were before we were chronically ill. They're assessing us based on, we should be able to get up and get dressed every day. The idea of those people that are lucky enough that they get up every day and they don't even think about it, of course they're going to get dressed. They're so lucky. I'm so happy for them. But it's something I really think about. Like, I really wanted to look more professional because I've changed the image you see on YouTube. Some of them, I had a professional photographer. I really wanted to get dressed nicer for you. But I just accepted if I want to film this, I'm going to need to be in my pajamas. And I know you're okay with that. We don't need to be embarrassed about this. We're doing everything we can to survive chronic illness. I would rather not get dressed today and be able to talk to you than get dressed and feel even worse and have to be in bed all day. That's the choice I made. And I'm happy with that choice. I'm so happy that I'm chatting with you. Any items or adapted clothes to help you get dressed and undressed? So I use Ollie. When I get stuck in clothing, she can take my socks off for me. I've had to use her to get trousers off before. I'm a lot smarter now that I don't put stuff on if I'm going to get stuck in. Well, I say that, it's going to happen again, isn't it? Are you using an aid? If yes, what do you use to help and why? So don't forget that this is obviously the Scottish version of ADP. So in the English version, we just get a blank page. So you can do it in this format. That's why I'm showing you this, because this is so helpful. So what do you use and why do you use this? A lot of us, so I have a button aid. So this is the button aid. So if you look, you can hook the button there or hook the zip there. Okay. Now, it's a nice, good grip. But being honest with you, how often am I using this? I'm not. I haven't got the energy to fuck around with the button aid. There's no way. So, but I just say that. So I would say, if I was going to wear clothes with buttons on it, I would have to use a button aid. But I'm not wearing them. I avoid any clothes with buttons on because of my hand pain and my fatigue. It's too much. I'll wear oversized clothing. Just be honest. Again, we're just being honest. So how often do you use this? Don't forget, because you're working out the on averages, if you're only getting dressed every 3 days, you can just say, when I get dressed, in brackets, every 3 days, I use a footstool to put my foot on so my foot is closer so I can put my socks on. Or my partner puts my socks on for me. Do you need someone to dress your upper body? So, for example, if you've got issues with your shoulders, you need to say that. Again, make sure you clarify which is your worst side. And don't just say, Charlie, they're both really bad. I get it, but one will be worse than the other. So always clarify that. It helps. Do you need someone to help dress or undress the lower body? Yes. We don't want to be a burden. We hate being a burden. We don't like asking for help. If you're not changing your clothes because, again, you don't want to ask the person that's helping you to do it, you can explain that. You can be honest about that. There's nothing that you can't be honest about in this. This is the place to be honest about things. How often do you need help? How long does it take you to get dressed or undressed? This is, again, I love this. I know if you're watching this all the way through, you're like, Charlie, you're repeating yourself. I know I am. This is brilliant on how long does it take you? And then how do you feel afterwards? If I'd have got dressed this morning, I'd have been wrecked. I wouldn't be doing this. Not at all. No, I'd have been in bed hours ago. And then I'd have probably slept in the clothes. That's important as well. It hasn't actually asked that. But say, for example, you are wearing clothes that you could go out in, like joggers, and a hoodie, so you could go out in them, but you also sleep in them. So I have quite a few clients where they'll wear clothes so to their family it looks like they're dressed, but when I see them, I'm like, do you sleep in those clothes as well? And they're like, yeah. Just explain that. I get it. We all get it. Those of us that experience this, we understand it. Okay, so let's go with our example. I'm sorry that the evidence pen is coming through from the other pages. Sorry about that. So we'll go with our mental health first, which will be the prompting to get dressed. And that prompting I'm going to put is daily. And then be honest and say, I change my clothes every 3 days. Then we're going to do the physical condition. So I'm going to keep it simple on this. So we've got the prompting for the mental health. And then we've got the using the aid, the soft aid, for the physical condition example we're doing, of which we will evidence the aid. Have you been able to figure out where you are in the dressing and undressing? Hopefully you have. When you come to fill out your form, I'm still really conscious that you're going to have for those of you doing PIP, a blank piece of paper. For ADP, I just want you to have this checklist as well. So let's go through it and we'll use it, link into the examples I've given you throughout this guide. So we're going to do the mental health example first. How often do you do this on average? I try to change my clothes about every 3 days. Number 2, why are you only able to do it that often? Refer to conditions and symptoms. I don't see the point in changing my clothes any more than that. I know this is due to the severity of my depression. What help do you have? My mum tries to encourage me to change my clothes every day because I sleep in them as well. But I just don't see the point. Check the points. We know that with regards to mental health, it's the prompting category if people are severe enough to warrant that. So we know we've covered that because I've made such good notes. But for you, make sure you check the points and make sure, triple check it. How long does it take you and how do you feel afterwards? So I've said I wouldn't include this for PIP, but I am going to give an example here. Sometimes I feel better when I've changed my clothes and they're clean, especially if I've been able to have a wash, but it still doesn't help me to get motivated the next time my mum is nagging me. Number 6, can we include any evidence? Unfortunately for the prompting, we can't. Like I've said, it's no good putting in statements from family members, loved ones. Even if your family, I've had it before where a client's family member was a qualified GP, doesn't matter. They're a family member. There's no point in including it. So no evidence. So that's the end of what is required on the form for that example. Okay. So let's do the physical conditions. Go back to the checklist. How often do you do this on average? I get dressed every day. Why are you only able to do it that often? Not relevant for this because we're saying we get dressed every day. What help do you have? Due to my arthritis, I have to use a sock aid as I can't reach my feet because of the arthritis in my knees. Here, in number 3, it doesn't say linked to conditions, but because we didn't need to refer to number 2, why are you only able to do it that often? We didn't have to because we're able to do it every day, but I wanted to get the conditions in as the reason why we use an aid. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Check the points and just make sure we've covered everything. So this person doesn't need prompting. They don't need assistance to dress their lower body because they're able to do it themselves with their sock aid. Their upper body, they're good. It's the arthritis in their knees that's a problem. And they are able to get dressed. Okay, so we know we've covered that. How long does it take you and how do you feel afterwards? Again, I wouldn't include that in PIP, but I'll give you an example. It takes me twice as long to get dressed now than before I was chronically ill, and I feel very exhausted afterwards. But when I have a rest and a cup of tea, and I feel better after about an hour. In this section, is there any evidence? We've got our big E for evidence. Yes. So I'd put, please refer to the additional evidence document I've included with this form where I've taken a photo. No, where my husband has taken a photo of me using my sock aid. I hope this helps. Done. So many people think that they're going to get points in communication. I am going to be really, really blunt with you. At the beginning of your assessment, they'll ask your name, your date of birth, they'll ask you what your conditions are and what your medications are. If you can answer those questions, you're going to get 0 points in communication. That's it. That's it. It's that simple. It doesn't matter if our brain fog gets horrendous at times. Like in the past week, I've had it where my mum could not understand what I was saying to her because my brain fog was so bad. I was in so much pain. I thought I was speaking clearly. But you know when in your head you think you're speaking clearly, but you're not. She can understand me, but I do not get points in this category because I can communicate. Even if you're struggling and you're stuttering and you forget things and you go, oh, sorry, can you repeat that? Oh, it doesn't matter. If you can say it, that's it, right? I'm still going to go through the points and how ADP explain it, so to give you a bit more detail, but for most of you, it should be really simple. In this part of it, you're literally going to put no issue. I can communicate. You can add a bit more and say, so for me, I think I put no issue, but then sometimes I'll put I decline as the day goes on. So if you were talking to me early evening, you'd think I'm a different person. There are times where afternoon, you cannot communicate with me. I'm very, very different. I am not like this. And my body can shut down at any time. I can get an hour's notice and my body shuts down. That's it. It's not a choice. But I still don't score points in this. Okay. It's just the way it works. I don't want you to waste their time or your time focusing on this if you do not get points. Focus on the key areas. Communication, what they mean by it, even though I've given you the Charlie version, is being able to express yourself, being able to understand what people say to you. And so they break this down into basic and complex. So I'll give you some examples of this. So basic information, would you like a cup of tea? Yes, I'd like a cup of tea. I would count basic information as you need to take this tablet twice a day, morning and night. Can you understand that? Can you communicate it? Complex information. This is a good example about the bus stop. I'm new here, so this is directions. I count complex information as you need to take this medication every 4 hours with food. So can you understand basic information? And again, be blunt about this. Don't waste your time. I think another one of the reasons why my success rate is so good is that when I work with people, again, the links in the description if you want to book me. And there's loads of free templates on the website, so definitely have a look. We don't waste their time. When the assessor comes to your form and sees, I can communicate, no issue here, I'm able to do this most of the time, they will be relieved. It makes it easier. Do you remember back when we did preparing food and I said so many people put, I can't prepare food, but we wouldn't starve? When they see this, it makes their lives easier. And I do think that is one of the reasons why my clients win. Obviously, they understand the process and we know exactly where they score. That is really, really important, which is why you're watching this. When you know where you score, it empowers you and you get to the point. Please, please just cut the crap. If you can communicate, just put no issue. Okay? I promise it helps your case. Right. For those people that are neurodivergent, for those of you that are amazing at masking, where when people are talking, you can't retain it and you don't actually understand what they're on about. But they don't know that. They think that you understand everything. You need to be able to put that in here. And I would be honest and say, because most of the time when they experience this, like codename the Meg, I can have a conversation with her. I know she's not taking it in. And after that conversation, she's going to have to check with her mum to see what actually happened. And her mum will explain it in a way that she gets it. She'll try to. However, from a DWP point of view, doesn't matter where we are in the country, they don't care. They're not going to dig that much to figure it out. So if you're in a position or you're doing this for someone that they don't get it when they're talking to someone, but they look like they get it, just explain it and say, they mask and pretend to understand even though they don't. And then if someone is neurodivergent, you should have that diagnosis to back that up. Okay. So the complex information. I do like the bus example they gave of, right, you've got to go turn left down here, go straight, then go right. That's a really good example. Or more than one sentence. Like, there is no way that a lot of my neurodivergent clients would understand what I am saying right now. It's way too much, it tends to be mums that do the admin in my experience. I've got a lot of mums doing the paperwork for their neurodivergent children. One dad. We finally got a dad, single dad. Bless him. But I do find it's usually the females that are doing the admin. Being able to express more than one sentence. If you're doing this for someone that is neurodivergent, I repeat, do not allow them to be on the assessment themselves. You would need to say, do you understand that? And them have the confidence to go, no, can you explain it? They need to be able to say that on the assessment, okay? The help with communication can again be family members. And it's just, I think when you've got family members, you just know what works for that person on how to communicate. That's your skill base. You know how their brain works. So the hearing aid expression cards, do you need anything else to help you communicate? How often do you need it? We're not carrying on a separate piece of paper. Let's check out the points. Pretty much, if you're watching this video, you're 0. Using an aid to be able to speak or hear. And we've gone through the complex and verbal or cannot communicate. So anyone, if you're watching this because you have a neurodivergent child and they are non-verbal, they will be 12 points, okay? Just a heads up, on the PIP assessment, even PIP or ADP assessment, even if you have documentation proving your child is non-verbal, in my experience, they will still say, I need to ask that child that you can speak for them. I've had them do that to non-verbal children that have turned 16 and go, are you okay for your mum to do this? And then that child not speak. Just prepare yourself for that. So in our example on this, we've got the black for the mental health and we've got blue for the physical. Both are 0 points. We don't need to use the checklist regarding this activity in PIP and ADP, because let's just refer to the points where we made our notes. So we've confirmed in the examples I've given you during this guide that the person with the mental health diagnosis is able to communicate, and so is the person with physical condition. So on their form, they're simply going to write no issues, or they will write something like, I'm able to communicate myself. Done. With reading and understanding, it's not asking about when you've got brain fog. And I know that brain fog is crippling or can be crippling. It's about, so try and forget about the brain fog bit, okay? They haven't caught up with brain fog, just being honest with you. A good way that I find to say this is, especially when I'm working with parents with neurodivergent children, is if they saw the sign for danger, would they understand what that means? If no, it's very different on the points, okay? But if you understand what danger means, you're in a different category, and I'm happy for you, okay? So we're going to break this down. It's about the ability to read and understand, okay? It's not about memorizing things, and they're going to break it down. We need to break it down to basic and complex. So the basic is a sign to the hospital, right? Brilliant. Or a date. Complex is the PIP and ADP form. That is complex. But let's do another example of complex. Complex would be medication that has to be taken at certain times a day with food. More than one instruction is complex. Okay. Are you able to read and understand? If you went to mainstream school, the answer is yes. If you went to school but you were in a group with supported, or you had an assistant teacher with you, then it might be a bit different. If you are diagnosed with dyslexia, you must be diagnosed, okay, in writing on your medical records for it to count. I do have clients where their diagnosis, it was like in the 80s and it's no longer on file. So do they pay to get the diagnosis again? You need to look at the points that you've got and go, do you need them? Do you need them? So you need to figure that out for yourself, okay? So complex information like the letter, what we've explained. So using an aid, these are fantastic. Glasses don't count. Wearing glasses doesn't count because obviously able-bodied people wear glasses. Magnifying glass, any of you with eye injuries or issues with your eyes, magnifying glass, really important. Big button phones, help from other people, that is a lot of you are getting that. Using your phone, chat GPT, colour overlays, for those of you that are dyslexic, big shout out to the elegant lady who taught me all about these. You've also got that those scanner things where you can scan the text and then it says it out loud for you. So obviously, what help do you need and why? So if you can read and understand information, brilliant. just put no issue in this section. Or what I tend to write is I can read and understand. That's it. You don't need to put anything else. If you're using an aid, clarify what that is. This bit about prompting is for those of you with mental health conditions. You need someone to prompt you to do it, otherwise you just won't. It is not easy to get the points in this category for prompting, but it depends on how severe your mental health condition is. And again, they will check medical records. You just need to be honest. You've just got to paint the picture so they understand what your life is like. Most of these points are going to be for people that are diagnosed with dyslexia or that are neurodivergent. Okay. Just be warned, I have had it before where I've got neurodivergent clients that are not able to understand the word danger, that are 8 points, and they were not issued those points. So this one you have to be really clear and have evidence to back it up. So let's go to our examples. So for the mental health, I'm going to say prompting for complex information, weekly prompting, because it's not every day that someone's like, read the letters, has the bank rings, they're not writing every day. Okay. But with regards to the physical condition, I'm going to say no issues. Okay. Okay. So for a lot of us with physical conditions, like myself, I can read and understand, don't get me wrong, not later in the day. There's no way. I can't even cope with watching a new film. It's too much for my brain. I watch the same things on repeat. So reading would be an absolute no-no for me. If you see my newsletter, so I try and do a weekly newsletter depending on how bad my health is. Sometimes I miss. But I have a section of books I've read because pre-chronic illness, I love to read. But being chronically ill is very hard to read. It's just too much for us. So I'm going to say, but no points on that one. Oh, I am going to do the big E for evidence on the using an aid. So for any of you that are dyslexic and you use those scanner things or the coloured paper, make sure you take a photo, right? So let's have a look at the checklist and we'll go through it for the examples that we've done during this guide. So we've said, with regards to the physical condition, that person is able to read and understand. So we don't need to use the checklist because on their form, that person would literally write, I am able to read and understand. Or they could write, I have no issues. Actually, I prefer that. I'm able to read and understand. Write that. With regards to mental health, let's have a look at the checklist. How often do you do this on average? I avoid reading any documents at all times. I find it overwhelming. Crap. See, I got ahead of myself then. Number 2, why are you only able to do it that often? So, I said I find it overwhelming due to my depression and anxiety. I worry about what is in the letters and it's just too much for me to cope with. What help do you have? My mum makes me sit down once a week and we open my post and look at what, if there's anything, look at what, if any, letters from the bank or debt collectors. If my mum didn't do this, I just wouldn't open. Check the points, which we've checked, so we're not going to go through them again. How long does it take you and how do you feel afterwards? Do you know what? On this one, I would add a bit. I'd say something like, I don't feel able to cope with any questions or information about life where I have to do something. I feel that I'm using every ounce of energy I have just to get through my days as it is without having to read more information. I can't do it myself. I just can't do it. Is there any evidence? No. Because again, letters from family members or friends is just not valid. But don't forget to watch the evidence video that I'll put at the end of this one. It's really good. Done. Before we look at ADP and the points, I just want to clarify some confusion on this one. This doesn't mean, are you shit with money? This doesn't mean, are you in debt? This doesn't mean, are you impulsive? Right? Because the bulk of the country is in debt and it doesn't mean they're entitled to PIP or ADP. So I do see a lot of people that think they're entitled to these points but aren't. Okay? The people that do score points in this area are neurodivergent or diagnosed with a mental health condition, this is generally, obviously there are some exceptions, diagnosed with a mental health condition that is really severe, like really severe depression, where the individual literally cannot bring themselves to even look at the bills. Some people with severe ADHD, where they just cannot comprehend or get their focus enough to get their head around planning ahead that I need to buy food. So we'll go through the details, but if you are someone that can communicate and you understand what money is, so if I gave you £20 and said to you, go to the shop, get yourself some lunch and leave enough money to buy lunch tomorrow, could you understand that? Could you do that? If yes, pretty much you're not going to get any points in this section. Okay? And my advice is the same as what it was before. If you can manage something and you're no points, just put no issues, because it will save time. So if you think that you're still might be entitled to points here, obviously keep watching. It's your choice. You know your life. Okay, so I love this. I know I've probably said that in every section, but I do love this. Understanding the price of things. So it's pretty much understanding what money is. So we do have members of our neurodivergent community that don't understand money, okay? Being able to understand how much change when you get back. I've never actually used that. I've never used it when working with someone on their PIP or ADP claim, because generally if people can understand money, and nowadays we're just using our cards, we're doing contactless, okay? So that's a little bit probably out of date now. Again, it's not about having enough money. This doesn't mean that you're good with money. That's not what this means. Okay, so paying bills on time. Again, if you are late with bills, it doesn't mean you're entitled to points here. Working out a budget, that is important. Are you able to do that? Do you have to have someone sit down and do it with you? Planning ahead for bigger things. Again, this is important. If you've got a car, do you budget for the service? No? But you need to figure out, is that because our society doesn't teach us how to manage our money properly, or is it linked to your chronic illness? Because there's a very big difference. Can you pay for things when you're in a shop? Now, I hope you notice that some of these link in. So if you put yes, both in PIP, they don't actually ask this question, okay? In PIP, don't forget, in England, Wales, we just get that one blank page. If you put yes, you can pay for things in a shop, that helps them answer the planning and following a journey questions. It's all interlinked, okay? Or I can't pay for things myself. So this could be due to anxiety as well. That if you're so anxious, you can't understand what people are saying to you. Does that make sense? Do you need help for someone to pay from you? Again, you can see that this is indicating more towards our neurodivergent warriors. Okay. How often do you need this help? When paying for bills or planning a budget, do you need help from someone? I would definitely say people with diagnosed dyslexia. If it's not diagnosed, if you haven't got it in writing, you can't use it in PIP and ADP. I'm sorry. It also does count for those of you with severe mental health diagnosis. So it's important for you to try and say out loud how it feels to be inside your head. So how often do you need the help of someone sitting down with you to budget or help pay the bills? Can manage complex budgeting decisions. So complex would be working out how much money you need for the month plus a big purchase. So for example, my car recently died, so I had to work out, have I got enough money to pay for the bills, buy all the food and cover the cost of the car? That's complex. I'm able to do that, no points. Prompting, nagging, encouraging, support, whatever word you use that you're comfortable with, to be able to figure something like that out, 2 points. And again, you would need diagnosis to match that condition. So, for example, someone in my situation with arthritis or fibro, a condition that affects our physical ability, even though brain fog screws us up, I've said this before, so again, they don't take brain fog into account. The simple budgeting decisions, and then cannot make budgeting decisions at all. So that would be our neurodivergent warriors that don't understand what money is, or people with severe Alzheimer's, dementia, severe stroke. So let's do our role play. So we're going to do our mental health condition, and we're going to say it's severe enough that prompting is needed when it comes to budgets. And then when it comes to our physical condition, we're saying no issues. Okay, so when you come to actually fill out your form, I just want you to use this checklist as well. Okay, so let's go through it and we'll link it to the examples we've used throughout this guide. So we'll do the physical condition first, which is really simple. I am able to manage my own budgeting. Done. That's all you write. So we'll do the mental health condition next. Let's go to the checklist. How often do you do this on average? Again, it's about being honest. I avoid looking at anything to do with my financial situation. That might be too posh a wording. If you wouldn't say financial situation, don't say that. Say it how you would say it. I don't look at anything to do with money. However you word it, just word it that way. Why are you only able to do it that often? Linked to condition and symptoms. Everything feels overwhelming due to my depression. I don't have the energy, physically or mentally, to then spend time trying to plan my money. I also get really anxious and upset when faced with my current situation. Basically saying, that's me politely saying that this person's in debt and stressed about it. What help do you have? My mum has to sit me down each week and explain how much money I have for that week. She also makes sure that I don't have access to any other money because I'll spend everything on something I don't need and deeply regret it afterwards. If my mum didn't do this, I don't know what position I would be in. I don't know how I would survive. Check the points. I'm not going to do that because we've been through it, but make sure you do, please. How long does it take you and how do you feel afterwards? I know I said I wouldn't include it for PIP, but I'll give you an example. I dread my mum sitting me down and having this conversation because I know it's really bad and I feel like a burden because she shouldn't have to do this with me. It just makes me feel worse, but I understand why she does it. Number 6, any evidence? We can't on this because it's a family member. If it's a member of the mental health team or something like that, we could include some sort of evidence. Don't forget to watch the evidence video that I'll link at the end of this, okay? Just in case there is something else that you could include, but we don't have time to discuss it now. And that's it. Done. We're now into the mobility section of PIP and ADP, where there are 2 activities that we're going to talk about. Firstly, planning and following a journey. Now, if you're thinking, I can walk, so this isn't relevant for me, that is not right. I need you to watch this part of the guide because this is about, it involves those of you with mental health conditions. It's about every aspect of leaving your home, apart from mixing with people, because we've covered that in engaging with others face to face. I really like this intro in ADP. It's lovely. It's about familiar journeys, places that you know, and places you've never been to. Unfamiliar journeys. Unfamiliar is places you've either never been to or that you can't go without having to do some sort of planning. Would have helped if I clicked down on the slide because it's got the answers here. Okay, I'm just going to be honest with you here. You know where they're saying planning a new route? The PIP and ADP haven't caught up with Google Maps yet. On the assessment, they'll basically say, can you use Google Maps? If the answer is yes, then you can plan a journey. Nowadays with Uber and Google Maps, we don't really plan. It's not like what we had to do 10 years ago, is it? When I'm working with clients, there is a link in the description if you want to get access to me. There's a link to the website with the free templates on and the weekly newsletter that I do. I try and do it weekly depending on how well I am, what my conditions are like at the time. You know what it's like. When they're talking about planning, when I work with clients now, it's more about that impact you? Are you worrying about it? Is your anxiety going through the roof? Are you going over and over where you're going? Do you have to go before because you've got to see where it is? You need to know where the toilets are, where's the doors, where's the parking? That's what I focus on with clients now. Do you need help if you've got to go somewhere new? Yes or no? And obviously, what help do you need? So for those of you doing PIP, don't forget it's just that blank like A4 piece of paper to write it in. This bit, for those of you doing PIP, I wouldn't even worry about this bit, okay? I wouldn't waste your time writing about this bit because, again, they're going to skip it. How often do you need this help? Everything we do, every part of PIP, they want you to work out what I call your averages. On average, how often does someone have to help you plan the route? So again, link it back to the way that I do this with clients. On average, how often does someone need to reassure you about the journey you're going to be doing? Let's see what it's got. Unfamiliar journey after you leave your home. After you leave your home. For some of you, just getting out the door. What a palaver that is. We're doing unfamiliar first, okay? So just think, you've got a hospital appointment. You've never been to this hospital before. It is a 45-minute drive away from your home. How are you going to get there? Do not fall for PIP trickery at this point. Now, if you haven't seen it, I have got a series, I've got a playlist on PIP trickery. And I call it trickery because the government's skint. Okay, it doesn't matter where we live in the UK, the government is skint. And they will do everything they can to talk you out of the points. All I want you to do is be honest. I want you to be honest about your situation. And this is why I'm about to get firm with you. I see many people screw up this section because do you remember when I say this is about current daily life? You must remember that at all times, but it is critical when doing this section. This is current life. It is not, could you do something? It's not, if a child's life was on the line and they said to me, I need you to run, I'd do my damnedest to save that child's life and I'd run, I'd try. But the pain increase, the aftermath, just after, I'd be like, get the ambulance ready. It's not about what you could do because of the aftermath. When I say aftermath, I mean what happens afterwards. You know, it's no good if you could do it, but then you're in bed for 6 months or you don't leave the house for a year. This is what is your daily life. How would you get to this hospital? How would you do it? Think about it. So if you're thinking, well, my friend would take me, or my daughter would take me. Okay, that's the answer. Don't get distracted by other stuff that's on social media. Just listen to me when it comes to this, okay? You've just got to tell the truth about what your life is like. Now, there is a massive group of you watching me right now, and you fit into the category of talking about what life used to be like. I sort of smile about it because the amount of times I've had conversations with people where I'll go through these questions and they'll go, well, you know, I suppose I could get a taxi. And I'm like, you suppose you could get a taxi? Do you get a taxi? Well, I suppose I could. No. Do you get a taxi? When was the last time you went somewhere you've never been before in a taxi on your own? Well, I could, but I didn't ask, could you? When was the last time you got in a taxi and went somewhere you've never been before? And then they'll stop and think and they'll be like, well, what? Yeah, but I don't know where the toilets are. You don't have to be near a toilet. That's not right. Not what I asked you. When was the last time you said I could get a taxi? So when was the last time you got a taxi to somewhere you've never been before on your own? Since you've been chronically ill, since you've been this sick? Well, no, No, I don't. So why are you saying it when it comes to PIP and ADP? There are so many of you that will say this, and this is my theory. First of all, we're embarrassed. We don't want to be chronically ill. All the shit that's in the papers about, people that claim this, that we're just milking the system and all stuff like that. I have never, ever worked with anyone. All of my clients, none of us want to be on this. What we want is to be better. Once you've experienced chronic illness, oh God, it's very difficult seeing people that are able-bodied because they don't get how lucky they are. You just don't get it until you've been this sick. We just want to be better. We don't want to be going through this degrading process and having people ask us about what we do when we have a bowel movement. It's embarrassing. So when we're answering these questions, it is much easier to say, well, I could, because then you don't have to explain yourself anymore. And we don't want to be a burden. We don't want to be stuck. We don't want to have to admit our fears. As humans, we don't like being open about our fears. It's still ingrained in us as the hunter-gatherers. You've got to, you don't want to admit weakness. You've got to keep it real. This has got to be, how do you do it? And if the person that you go with wasn't available, how would you get there? Is there someone else that you could go with you? Or is the reality that you then wouldn't go, that you'd get another appointment, even though it's going to screw you up and it's going to take months and months to get the appointment? Is it a case of without that support, you're not going? You have to be honest with yourself. I say this a lot. I know I say this a lot. You have to be honest. You've got to be honest. When it comes to chronic illness, those of us that are truly suffering, one of the reasons why doing PIP and ADP is so difficult is because we block a lot. We block. Until I did my own PIP, I didn't realise how bad my life had got. If you'd have said to me before I did my own PIP, do you struggle with going to the toilet? I'd have gone, no. No. Nope. I cried so much when I had to sit and really think about how I managed going to the toilet. Sitting and facing the reality of our lives and saying it out loud and then putting it on a form in writing, we can't get away from the facts that this is what our life has become. I firmly believe that we need to accept where we are before we can move forward. That is why this process is so life-changing. When you get the funding, it's life-changing, but more importantly, you're then self-aware, so you can figure things out to move forward in a positive manner. You've got to be honest with yourself about what is your current life. Okay? Really important, especially because in the assessment, they're going to try and talk you out of this. So if you've got someone else that helps you when you go out, don't forget we're doing unfamiliar at the moment. So this all works for familiar and unfamiliar, but ADP is currently focused on unfamiliar at the moment. So an assistance dog like me with an assistance dog, a number of people that are dyslexic, where you've got the apps on the phone that will speak out the directions. That's important to say that on here. And then how we're getting to a new place. So new place, unfamiliar. The terminology is always unfamiliar in PIP and ADP. So it's saying about why do you need this help? So it could be in this section, this is why it's important. And how often have we come back to? So when you're leaving your home and you're suffering from chronic illness, it's not just a case of you just walk out the door, is it? Like, how many of us are like, have I got my meds? Like, there is no way I'm going out without my pain meds. No way. Where are the toilets? How far is the walking distances? Where's the parking spot? Are there going to be queues? Oh, queues. For me, my pain is so much worse just standing. How far is it from the doors of where I've got to go to get to the point that I need to get to? Rheumatology, for some reason, always seems to be miles away from the entrance of the hospital. I know they don't think about that when they're working at the hospitals. How long are we going to be there? That's another one. How long are we going to be there for? Are we going to be able to get back home? What's the weather conditions going to be like? How are we going to be feeling on that day? There's so much more than just walking out the house. Like I'm in my pajamas today. I've actually been in these pajamas for, I think this might be my 4th day. My plan is to change them today when I finish filming. But then I'm gonna have to go to bed, obviously. I have been out. I've taken the dogs out and I've just put waterproofs on top. Getting dressed to go out to look, and a hat because my hair's not. Don't want people to see me with my hair this dirty. I don't mind chatting like this. But if I was meeting someone face to face, I wouldn't be comfortable as I am now. Unless it's someone I know and trust, I would not be comfortable having anyone near me. So going out somewhere unfamiliar right now, say if I had to go somewhere unfamiliar tomorrow, fuck. Like, I'm not well enough to wash my hair. I'm not well enough to do it. I don't want, like, my mum to do it, and then I've got wet hair, then if I get cold, then my jaw joints get worse. Getting changed, like, it's so much. It's so much. I get it. We have to communicate it. So everything I just said there, all that big list of all the things that we need to think about, and I didn't even mention door handles. Like the door handles, can we even get through the doors? Like, are there automatic doors? Is there steps? All of that, you have to think about what is the worst for you. Okay, what's the worst for you, and why you need that help when you're out. That's what you need to focus on when doing these forms. And I know I'm still talking about having some help with you. If you don't have someone with you when you go to unfamiliar or familiar places, still sorry, keep watching the guide because we've got bits that might be relevant for you. So I'm so sorry. I probably should have covered that earlier so that you could just get off the video, but I'm really sorry. I'm going with the format that ADP is in. You know where it says here, how often do you need this help? And they say roughly, I say work out on average. When they want to know the roughly or on average, they are trying to work out how much of the time are you safe, consistent, and reliable. But please don't do what so many people are advising out there that I 100% disagree with. Don't just do your worst days. So again, it's the same thing on, can you do it? How do you do it? And do you need help going to like your local shop or the GP? Those are the examples that DWP love to ask on the assessment. And why do you need this help? So why you need it, it can be whatever the reason is for you. Again, you need to just be honest. Is it due to your anxiety? Is it due to your PTSD? Is it due to the physical aspects of your conditions, like you can't open doors on your own? Is it that you've completely lost your confidence and you need to be so close to the toilet and make sure that you can get into it? You can't. What if there's only one toilet? What if there's only one toilet and there's someone in it? And how often you need the help, which we're always talking about on average. This bit is, I'm hoping that most of you are not in this situation. For those of you that are, that you cannot leave your home at all. They've focused more on the mental health here. And we'll start with, let's just do physical first, right? If you've got a condition where you are bedridden like 90% of the time, they are talking about those rare occasions that you do go out. to the hospital. They need to know those rare occasions. Okay. That's why they're focusing on the mental health here. For any of you that cannot leave your home at all, you will or you should have the clear diagnosis. You have to have the diagnosis or this won't be relevant, such as severe anxiety, agoraphobia. They haven't put PTSD, CPTSD, I would say for this one. A good piece of evidence if you are in this category, or if you're watching this for a loved one that is in this category, if your GP has adjusted so that you do not have to come in for appointments, or the GP will speak to a family member or a loved one instead of the individual, get that as evidence. That is really good in the cases where it's this severe. Okay. Again, it's saying you can continue on separate pieces of paper. I don't want any of you to do that. There is absolutely enough space for you to communicate clearly what you need. So let's check the points. So if you can go anywhere, somewhere you've been before, somewhere you've not been before, and you can plan it, you don't worry about it, pop the postcode in your phone and off you go. I'm so happy for you. So happy for you. No points. Congratulations. If you need prompting, so prompting, encouragement, nagging, support to get you out, then this is 4 points. Okay. Now, prompting can be an appointment coming through. There's quite a few of you watching this where you are in the situation that you won't go somewhere unfamiliar unless you're sort of forced to. When I say forced, it's obviously a choice to go to that hospital, but there are a lot of you that if you didn't get that letter about the appointment, you wouldn't go. You would not be going somewhere you don't know. That counts as prompting. It's not just people encouraging us to get out. This bit of cannot plan the route of the journey, don't worry about that. Just ignore that. Ignore C. This has to be, you can't use Google Maps. Okay. Now, the only people that will score at this level are our neurodivergent warriors, or dyslexic warriors, where if you can't follow the map. I have clients that are absolutely in that category, and the only way they can get to a location is by stopping and asking someone for help. And quite often they need that person to then walk with them to go, right, turn here. Okay. Again, you must have the diagnosis. Unfamiliar journey. Like we said, going to a hospital you've never been to before, that's a 45-minute drive away. Really blunt. This one is about undertaking. You cannot undertake any journey because of overwhelming psychological distress. These are for our warriors that are agoraphobic, that can't leave their home, whose PTSD, CPTSD is so severe. Then F is the familiar journey without another person. So if you can't go, no, sorry, let's word it positive. If you go to the local shop, do you always have someone with you? Supermarket, GP, have you got someone with you? Or your assistance dog? Or an orientation aid, like if you're blind? Have you always got someone with you? I know there's people that will go out at 3 a.m. on their own, but it's 3 a.m. Because they know that it's quiet. 3 a.m. on a certain day. So the drunks aren't out, it's not the weekend. The odds of them meeting someone else, like there's people that will walk their dogs at that time because there's not going to be anyone else about. I know it's severe that you're having to do those certain times, but if you're able to do it on your own, it still means you're able to do it on your own. Okay, but you need to put in the form that I can only go at this time of day on these days because I know these people won't be around, and then explain why. You might be thinking, hang on a minute, Charlie, I thought this was supposed to be so we're compared to able-bodied people. It is, so we're compared. We're supposed to be compared to what we were like before we were chronically ill. It's the whole point of this assessment is that we're supposed to be able to carry out our daily life with or without support like normal. So the people that I'm talking about that only go out at 3 a.m. or certain times of days where there's not other people around, or say, for example, I've got a few clients where they'll go out at certain times of day, they'll go to the local shop. There's not normally people in there apart from the people in the local shop that they've known for years. But then suddenly someone happens to be in the shop, so they've got to abandon it and they go home. This fail. And then they can't just go back out later on because it took them days to build up to that level to get out. As I'm explaining this to you, I'm sort of thinking, look, surely these people should be entitled to the points. You're actually not. It because you are able to go out on your own, even though it's so traumatic for you, it takes so much to build up. Guaranteed you're getting prompted because you're not going out dealing with all that to that level of anxiety for fun. You are still able to go out on your own. Okay, so let's go for our examples. So we'll do our mental health example first. So the mental health is prompting. Then we're going to go for our physical example. And the physical example, I'm going to go for unfamiliar. So I've got the prompting for the mental health example we're doing, or what literally won't go out, which is the 4 points. And then for the physical example that we're doing, that it's unfamiliar locations that must be with my husband. I'm not talking about me, it's my example, right? Must be with my husband because of pain, walking, and unknown. What is this similar to? What part of the PIP and ADP process is this one really similar to? Let me tell you. Even if you're watching this, just watching the plan and a journey section, I'm not going to edit this out because this is really important. Okay? Look at that. It links to engaging with people. All of these are interlinked. So when you do the assessment, you'll find they never go in order of the points. Even when we've gone through, when I've filmed this, the ADP, I thought was going to be in order of the points and it's not. It's very irritating. Right, when you come to actually fill in your form out, especially for those of you doing PIP where we just get a blank piece of paper, I've done a checklist for you both. So please make sure you use it. And I'm going to, it's available, links in the description. Go to the website, click on free templates, you'll be able to get it there. And I'll go through it now using the examples for the mental health condition and the physical condition that we've talked through in this guide. Okay, so let's start with mental health. How often do you do this on average? Let's go to the notes. I only go out when I have medical appointments. Why are you only able to do it that often? Linked to conditions and symptoms. Due to my depression and anxiety, the thought of going out feels too much. I just want to stay in where I feel safe. What help do you have? My mum makes sure that she reminds me a few days before I have an appointment, and she'll keep reminding me, and then on the morning of will encourage me to get dressed and go. Without her encouragement, I would miss most appointments. I find it easier to stay in where I feel safe. Number 4, check the points. I'm not going to because we know that we've covered it and the notes I've done is right, but please make sure you do check them. How long does it take you and how do you feel afterwards? I don't feel better after I've been out. I feel worse as I see people just getting on with their day and I feel like I have to pretend that I'm okay. I don't want people to know how much I'm struggling, and I also feel physically drained after I go out. It feels like it takes me days to recover. Okay, number 6. Can we include any evidence? No, we can't because of the prompting. It's a family member. And like I've said, there's no point in doing statements from family and friends. It's just a waste of your time and their time. So that's the end of that one. All done. Matilda just sneezed and face planted in the snow. Physical condition. How often do you do this on average? I'm able to go to familiar places when I want to, but if it's somewhere new, I will only go if I have a medical appointment that cannot be done over the phone. Why are you only able to do it that often? I don't want to go anywhere new because I don't know the walking distances, where the car will be parked, how many doors to go through, how I will feel that day, where the toilets are. It's too much for me. What help do you have? If I have to go to a different hospital, my husband will always be with me because I cannot do it on my own. Check the points. I'm not going to go through that again because we've been very careful, but please make sure you triple check everything you do. How long does it take you and how do you feel afterwards? Again, I wouldn't include this in PIP. I'll give you some examples. I dread it if I have to go somewhere unfamiliar. I worry about it for days beforehand and lose sleep. After we've been, I feel that my pain is much worse and it can take me weeks to recover. Due to the severity of my condition, it's simply too much for me now. And number 6, can we include any evidence? No, we can't on this one because she's saying it's her husband that she goes with, and there's no point doing statements from loved ones or friends, because it's they just won't take it. So, but again, don't worry about that. If you're doing this and you're like, but Charlie, every time you do something that I fit a category I fit into, you're saying I can't put evidence in. They will check your medical records, and this is about how you communicate your life. If you're being honest, you will naturally give details that no one else would explain, so they can understand that you're telling the truth. Okay, so that's all done. Before we go to the ADP part of this video, I want to explain to you the biggest mistake I see people make with this activity in PIP and ADP. The problem is, like myself included, most of us don't understand the actual distances that they're talking about. So when they ask us the questions, especially when they do the trickery side of things, we completely fall for it because we don't know how far they're talking. And the DWP are really keen on people using time. How long did it take you to do this distance? So I am going to start with ADP, but I want you to keep watching because we're going to look at how they describe walking and distances. Then we're going to do the Charlie's version of it, which I think you'll find more relatable because I actually get it. So I was thinking if I get it, hopefully you'll get it. Right, so let's get into it. Right, so what do they mean by moving around? Standing, yes, and walking. Not, I repeat, not on a hill, a slope, no, not stairs. None of that is included in this process. A lot of people, when I talk to them, will be like, well, on a hill, and I'm like, it's not about hills, this is flat ground. On step, no, it's not about stairs, it's flat. They are assessing us on flat ground. Okay, so make sure you've got that clear in your head. Make sure you make a note, flat ground, because I cannot tell you, it's no good talking about anything else, okay? And then they're saying, like, what they mean by most days, and that's them trying to figure out the average, okay? How many feet do you have? Should be nice and easy for everyone to answer, I hope. Can you walk more than 1 meter, 2 to 3 steps most days? In my head, I'm like, can you get from your bed to the toilet? Yes or no? That's how I'd answer that question. If no, why? And that's going to be severe. If any of you are struggling with 2 to 3 steps, you're going to be in a different category of care. Okay, and it said in the example there, because of loss of mobility, pain, out of breath, tiredness, something else. I do have a few clients with really severe COPD. And it hasn't said here, like it's not put condition, but I would explain condition here. If you're in that category where you can't do 2 to 3 steps consistently, or you need help, I would put due to severe and then state your condition. As well as putting, like they've said there, they're being out of breath, tiredness, etc. Okay. Now, I don't know about you, but when I looked at this, I was like, first of all, I couldn't see the arrow, the length of the arrow. I was like, where the fuck is the arrow? Where's the arrow? Like looking at the bottom picture, I was like, where is the arrow? Now, just to clarify, if you look at picture one, I'll stick an arrow on it to point to you the arrow on this picture, right? This it's very difficult coming up with these distances, right? To be able to figure out how far you can walk. So let's go on to our version, Charlie's Journey's version. Let me just see what the next one is. Right, yeah, and then they're like straight into that question. This is we are not even ready to answer that yet. You are not ready to answer this question yet. We haven't even got there. This is what I think is more helpful. Right, 1 meter is like the length of a guitar. Okay, so I've had it before where we've been in assessments with people, and the assessor has gone, "How long does it take you to walk 1 meter?" And the person's gone, 2 minutes. And no, no, right. I think most of us know how big a guitar is, right? That is 1 meter. 2 meters, the length of a bed, or your dining table, or a 3-seater sofa. So you think about it. Now, remember everything I've said. This isn't about forcing yourself to do it. This isn't someone's life is on the line. Could you do it? And the way I explain this to people is when you stand up, do you get a pain increase? Do your symptoms of your condition get worse? If you've got COPD, is your breathing getting worse as soon as you stand up? When you take a step, what happens? Where's the pain in your body? Think about it. Is it your feet, knees, hips, shoulders, neck, ribs? Like, where's the pain? What's happening? When you start walking, what's happening to the pain? Think about it from your feet, up, slowly. How do your feet feel? How are your toes? How are your ankles? How are your knees? Hips, ribs, shoulders, breathing, neck. What's happening? Think about that with all of this. Now, if you can stand up and walk and you're not even thinking about anything, your body's not hurting, I'm so happy for you. But those of us that are in pain, you need to think about it all, okay? So we know 2 meters, right? Oh no, like, sorry. So that's a 2-seater sofa, even though it shows 3-seater, that's a 2-seater sofa is 3 meters. We'll change that picture. I'm really sorry. A 3-seater sofa is 3 meters. Okay. So I'm really sorry about that. We'll change that. By the way, this is available on the website. It'll be the accurate one. We'll change that picture of that 2-seater sofa. So you can get this to refer to it as well. Okay, it's free. If you go into the description of this video, there's a link to the website, and then you click on free templates. Everything's in there. Okay, 10 meters is roughly the length of a bus. Obviously, buses can be different sizes, but it's roughly the length of a bus. Okay, I am going to come back to some of these pictures. Okay, when we look at the distances, 20 meters, 2 buses. Okay, the length of 2 buses. So actually, let me just go to the points, right? So we're going to do it a bit different this time. We're going to start the worst. Cannot stand basically on your own and move 1 meter. Can stand and move more than 1 meter, more than the length of a guitar, but no more than 20 meters. Right, so let's check the drawings. 10 meters is 1 bus. 20 meters is 2 buses. I want you to think about it like this. You stand up, you've walked the length of a guitar, and you might be thinking, no, I feel all right. You're walking, you start at the first bus, and you're walking. How are you feeling halfway down that bus? How are you feeling when you get to the end of the first bus, the first 10 meters? Are you feeling all right? Has your pain increased? Has your fatigue got worse? Has your breathing got worse? Or are you still good to keep going? Not you have no choice. If you had a choice, would you keep going, or would you be like, fuck, I need to sit down? Okay. Let's say you sit down. Let's say you do 1 bus length and you're like, oh, I need a break. There's a nice seat there. You sit down. You rest for however long you need. Could be a couple of minutes, could be 20 minutes. could be an hour. Then you get up and you start walking again. You're at the beginning of the bus, you're halfway down the bus. Do you feel the same as when you were at the first bus before your rest break? Are you able to like be completely refreshed? Refreshed might be the wrong word, because we generally don't feel refreshed, do we? But do you feel like you're back at the beginning of your ability to walk? Or has your body saying to you, hang on a minute, I've just done 10 metres, we just walked one bus length and now you want me to walk again? I know I had a rest break, but I'm not ready. We're like, what are you trying to do to me? How's your body feeling? So you're on the second bus length, you're halfway down the second bus length, you're getting to near the end of the bus. How's your body feeling? How are you feeling? Are you done? Do you need to be sitting down? Are you getting really grumpy? I don't know about you, like when my mobility is really bad, I get so grumpy because my body is in so much pain, and I go into like survival mode on I need to sit down or I need to be in bed. Like sitting down for me, so let's explain for me. First thing on the morning, I'm good. I can do this 20 meters slowly. I take longer than the average person, but I can do it on a morning on average. It's not been a good example because the past couple of months has been shit. But normally, on average, I can do it. If it was the evening, by the time I get halfway through the first bus, I want to sit down. I need to sit down. I am not walking 20 metres. There's no way. It's probably 9 to 10 steps for me to get from my bed to the commode. And on a night, that's far. That's really far. It's a lot. There'll be times where I'll be avoiding it. And I know it is, some of you will be the same as me, where it's variable depending on the time of day. And all of us that have mobility challenges, it's going to be variable depending on the weather conditions, depending on what we did the day before that, how our meds is going, are we in flare up? I get it's variable, but you have to work out the average, okay? And again, it is not could you do it if your life was on the line or a loved one's life was on the line. It's what is your current daily life. So let's go back to the points. No more than 20 metres, no more than 2 bus lengths before you need to rest. And that rest doesn't need to be sitting down. It could be leaning on something. Quite a lot of us tend to lean on something and then we'll lift one leg up. You lift one leg off the floor, then switch and lift the other foot off the floor. You might be doing some ankle twist or just trying to ease the pain. So it's any form of rest, okay? You need to be able to communicate that on your form. Let's go back to the points. So that's 12 points for that one, okay? So can stand and move using an aid, like a Zimmer frame or crutch, walking stick. We'll look at the ADP stuff for aids. More than 20 metres, but no more than 50 metres. 5 best lengths, but we couldn't fit 5 on the picture. 50 metres, half the length of a football pitch. I don't know about you, but I haven't actually spent much time on football pitches. So I get what it looks like, but I couldn't tell you like how far that is. The buses works for me. But I thought I'll put football pitch in because quite a lot of people have been to a football pitch and can relate to it. Okay, so no more than 50 metres, and this is with an aid. Then unaided, more than 2 bus lengths, but no more than 5 bus lengths or half a football pitch. Unaided can do more than 50 metres, so more than 5 bus lengths. 5 bus lengths, more. This is like your 50 metres is just breeze, yeah? Over 50 metres, over half a football pitch, but no more than 200 metres. 20 buses, 2 football pitches in length, or a distance like this. Again, this distance is not needing a break, not getting a pain increase, not struggling for breath. That's being able to do it comfortably. I think the expression comfortably suits this. Some of you will be able to do this, and you might get a pain increase, but you can still do it. And you just need to take some painkillers later, not do it too often, but you can still do it. Okay, that's great. If you're in that position, fantastic. If you are suffering whilst doing it, that's not good. And you need to communicate that. And we'll talk about aftermath as well, how you feel after you've done this level of moving around. Okay, so let's go back to the ADP. So I like I said, I don't think that is enough information for you to answer the question, because it hasn't done anything about pain, fatigue, breathing, all of that. Tell us why there's a limit to how far you can walk most days. I want you to think about your life. I want you to think about what you tend to walk on a normal day. Just an average day, like yesterday. Did you walk more than one bus length at any time yesterday? Or were you in your home and you went from bedroom to toilet, toilet to bedroom, bedroom to living room, rest, living room to kitchen, back to living room, rest, then maybe later living room to toilet, rest, toilet to living room, rest. Those distances isn't more than one bus length probably. Most homes aren't that big. Really think about it. Think about your life. What I find is when I'm working with clients where their condition is severe and their mobility is impacted, they've naturally adjusted so that they don't do anything that is over 2 buses. Even when they leave their home and they walk out the home, they walk down the driveway to a car, is it more than 2 bus lengths to get from your home to the car? When you get the car, maybe you go to the GP. When you park at the GP, how many bus lengths is it from the car into the GP? Then you sit in the waiting room. From the waiting room into the GP's office, it's not generally more than 1 bus length, is it? When you go to the supermarket, if you go to the supermarket, what size supermarket is it? Are you using your trolley as an aid? Are you leaning on the freezer section? I tend to sit on cat litter or cans of beer if I go in. I usually got my Zimmer frame, but before that, I would just sit on something that was sturdy. Really think about how you've adapted to your condition. And I'm sorry if this is a bit of a slap in the face, because quite often people don't realise that they've totally adjusted their life. Tell us about why there's a limit. So for me, when I explain about how rapidly I decline as the day goes on, I would say something along the lines of, because of my arthritis, I decline rapidly as the day goes on. The pain in my feet, knees, hips, and ribs increases substantially when I move around, which makes my fatigue so much worse. Tell us roughly how long it takes you to walk this far on most days. What they're trying to figure out, and they are shit at explaining this, okay? What they're trying to figure out is, are we slower than an able-bodied person? Are we slower? If yes, how much slower? Now, we don't time ourselves. None of us time ourselves. So don't fall into that trap. Do not fall into the trap of saying 30 seconds, because you don't know. You don't know. And it varies so much. What I do advise you to do is compare yourself to someone that is able-bodied. For example, I get overtaken by 90-year-olds quite often. Happens a lot. Let alone someone my age or able-bodied, younger, whatever. Like, it doesn't matter. They pretty much everyone overtakes me. Okay, I'll get a rare occasion maybe in the summer where I might overtake someone else, but they've got to be pretty, like, they're probably getting PIP, you know. Think about it this way. Does it take you twice as long as your family member if they were walking at normal pace? Is it like, like I was going to say 25% slower. So, but really it's difficult, isn't it? It's like they're twice as fast as you. We can relate to that. I'm much slower. Um, they have to wait for me. Like if they have to slow down to walk with me. Um, Ideally, we want to be able to say if you're 25% slower, 50% slower, 75% slow. You know, it'd be good if we could if you could try and work it out that way. But that's what they're trying to figure out. How much slower are you than the average person? Okay. And I think with that, go with whatever explanation you feel comfortable with. You have to be able to explain this. Really important. After you've walked this distance, does it change how you feel? So be blunt about how this makes you feel, and be very blunt if it takes you days to recover from something. So I don't want you to answer this and go, I could do 200 meters, but then I need to rest for 3 days. No. Or I need to rest for 3 weeks. No. This is about how far you can walk reasonably comfortably. Because a lot of us are in pain no matter what anyway, but reasonably comfortably. If you say, I can do 50 to 200 meters, but then I'm in bed for a week, that's not the right answer. This is that you can reasonably comfortably do the distance. Okay, so that might change how you answer this, all right? Things you might need. Okay, so we've got walking sticks. There's a lot of us that are in a position where walking sticks is no good because of our hand pain. It hurts to hold the walking stick. Like, I never went to a walking stick because of my hand pain. This would have been so severe that absolutely I wasn't using a walking stick. I went from nothing to a Zimmer frame. By the way, this Zimmer frame they're showing here is shit. Don't get that Zimmer frame. Look at the link in the description that I've got or on my website, and there is the best Zimmer frame you're ever going to get. It's so comfy to sit on. It's really safe, and it folds up to go into a car boot. It's amazing. Okay, not one like that. Crutches. The crutches that they're using here are the really basic hospital old school crutches. There are a lot better crutches now. Ones that you can rest your forearm on. Ones with knee rests on, where you can bend your leg and rest your knee on your crutch. They look quite good. Holding on to someone. If you furniture walk, what I call the expression furniture walk, so in your own home, you're reaching out, your hands on the sofa, you're holding onto a radiator, whatever it is you're reaching out and holding onto, bedside, chest of drawers, door, anything. You need to put that in your form. You need to put it in there, okay? So make a note of that. Do you need help to stand and walk? What help do you need? Why do you need this help? Okay, so you can just explain that. How often do you need this help? Right, so this, really like this one as well, okay? Sorry, that how often, I think by the time you're watching this, you'll have watched a lot of the guides, and we know we talk about averages, so work out your averages, okay? Do you trip or fall because of your condition? Yes. Yes. PIP, we don't get asked that. In England and Wales, we don't get asked it. If you're doing PIP, I want you to include it. If you've fallen in the past few months, I want you to include it. If you have near misses, so if you trip quite often, or you wobble, if you're tripping on air, I've been in that category. Air is dangerous. Make sure you include that as well. This section that we're doing, there's actually a lot from ADP that I want you to include in your PIP, okay? And it's not all on the checklist. So you've got to make sure you make these notes as you go through this. So I'd probably say if you've got mobility issues, you might have to rewatch this one and make some more notes as you go, okay? Because it's really important, especially this tripping one. You are not going to carry on an extra piece of paper, okay? You do not need extra pieces of paper to communicate our lives. For our examples, we've got the mental health and then the physical conditions. So for mental health, I'm going to say, let me get my pen. I'm going to say they're fine, right? They can do over 200 meters. And if you're thinking, Charlie, I really struggle with depression. I can't get off the sofa. It's hard to move around. This is about the physical conditions. I've never ever seen anyone get points in this if they purely have a mental health diagnosis. It is physical conditions that then impact your walking that gets points in this section. Okay. Even though I get that you struggle, some of you, your condition will be severe enough that you are struggling to move around, that it's psychological. Okay, this is physical. Physical condition. I'm going to say that they can go more than 20 meters, but no more than 50 meters aided. Nice and simple with the Zimmer frame. Okay, even though we've gone through this, I understand it's a lot. And especially those of you that are going to do PIP form, you're going to be looking at a blank piece of paper. So I've done a checklist for everyone to use. It's free. You can go into the link into the description of the YouTube video, and there's a link to the website. Go onto the website, free templates, get the checklist, and we'll go through it now. Okay, so it will help you. It will help you rather than just looking at a blank piece of paper. Okay, I'll explain. I'll show you. Number one, how often do you do this on average? So let's go to our examples. So for the mental health, that there's no issue with physical movements, you literally write no issue. I have no physical conditions that impact my mobility. That's it. That's that form done. So let's just check the checklist again. How often do you do this on average? So we are saying in this example that they actually, let me make this bit bigger. Okay. In this example, that they can go more than 20 meters using a Zimmer frame, but no more than 50 meters, no more than 5 bus lengths, or half a football pitch. It was half a football pitch, wasn't it? Let's just check that. Yeah, back to the checklist. How often do you do this on average? I'm able to go out every day. Why are you only able to do that often? Okay. So let's clarify that. I'm able to go out at lunchtime. If I'm able to go out once a day at lunchtime for a short walk. See how specific I've been there. Why are you only able to do it that often? Because after I have done this walk, I have to rest for the rest of the day. What help do you have? When I go for my short walk, I always use my Zimmer frame. Check the points, right? So we know that it's definitely that one. How long does it take you and how do you feel afterwards? Nowadays, it takes me twice as long to do this distance because of the pain from my arthritis. I would clarify, I haven't written it on here, but I would clarify the worst area. So I'd say, due to the pain in my arthritis, my left knee is the worst area at the moment. How long does it take you? How do you feel afterwards? After my walk, I rest on the sofa. After my walk, I stay on the sofa for the rest of the day. Now, I don't forget that I said about that falls. If you have falls, want to include it. So generally those of us that use Zimmer frames, we've had major wobbles. So I'm going to add in, even though it's not on the checklist, I'm going to add in and say, I've fallen in the past. So I always use my Zimmer frame when I leave my home. When I'm in my home, I hold on to the furniture as I walk around my house. Number 6, is there any evidence? Yes. Now, for most people, there isn't evidence on this. At the end of this video, I'm going to put a link to the evidence guide that I've done. So watch that, because what I've referred... Oh, crap, I've missed the big E. I've missed the big E, everyone. That's it. The whole guide is fucked. I haven't put the big E on it. Ugh. Right, let's pretend there's a big E for evidence beside the Zimmer frame. I did it on this one, but then I wrote it posh to take the photo for us to zoom in on. So this one, obviously, we can photograph the Zimmer frame. Okay. It would be good, like, someone to take the photograph of the person using the Zimmer frame, but it doesn't matter as long as it's a Zimmer frame in your home. Okay. And if this Zimmer frame was issued by Occupational Health, state that. Any aids or equipment given to you by Occupational Health, you must state that, because it puts you in a different category. It's obviously an independent professional that has decided you need that equipment. Okay. It helps the DWP understand what category you're in. So at the end of the form, say, please refer to the additional evidence document I've attached with this form to see a photo of my Zimmer frame. Now we're done. We're definitely done.